Studio 303, it's the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on the Fringe FM, bringing light to the stories that surround us. Lasers could be able to beam messages directly into a listener's ear, like whispering a secret from afar, according to U.S. scientists. The laser interacts with water vapor in the air as scientists created sounds in a localized spot that were loud enough to be picked up by human hearing if aimed near the listener's ear. This is the first time this technique has been used safely around humans. It is hoped that the directed sounds could one day be used for headphone-free TV watching without disturbing others, or they could warn people of danger discreetly in situations like an active shooter attack. The lasers will not cause burns to the eyes or skin due to the fact that the scientists finding the exact wavelength that allows it to be risk-free. Researchers tested out the setup on themselves in a laboratory, putting their ears near the beam to pick up the sound. Physicist Charles Wynn said, "You move your head around and there's a couple-inch zone where, well, there you go. It's pretty cool." Source, The Sun UK. And Pennsylvania birdwatchers spot a stunning rare cardinal with both male and female traits that split right down the middle of its body. What is known as bilateral gynandromorph with male and female traits, well, this happens when female eggs with 2 nuclei is double fertilized by 2 sperm. The amazing male-female chimera was spotted in a Pennsylvania backyard. Male cardinals have a bright red coloring, while females have a much duller appearance. Source, Daily Mail Online. And lungworm blood. It's coming to a pharmacy near you. After years of research and clinical trials, a French startup, Hemarina, is almost ready to start selling worm blood for organ transplants. The hemoglobin of the Arenicola marina is a highly effective oxygen carrier, a property that has lent itself to exploration by the biomedical industry. Source, Hockey Eye Magazine. And 2 motorists in Kansas encounter a Bigfoot. One of the 2 sisters claims that they were driving on Interstate 24 when they spotted the being. Quote, "Around 9:35 p.m., I was telling my sister, who was driving, to be careful about deer running across the road because we had seen a few. Some didn't even look at the truck that we were in. Most were focused on the cornfield," she told the BFRO about the August 2017 alleged encounter in Mitchell County. "Suddenly," she says, "a big buff gorilla-looking man hopped out on all 4s out of the cornfield. It jumped from the cornfield to my left, in front of me, and onto the left side of the road. It stood up and then disappeared into the cornfield on the other side of the highway. My sister wanted to stop, but I asked her to continue driving." The woman described it as 8 feet tall with an ape-like body. Its hair was reportedly about 3 inches long, with some bald areas on the chest and face. You could see the muscles. The hair was dark, kind of reddish. Source, cryptozoologynews.com. And time for this edition's fun fact. The name Australia contains 3-letter A's. Each one of them is pronounced differently. And that wraps it up for another edition of the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on the Fringe FM. I'm Vance Nesbitt, anchor and news sorcerer.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Good evening. I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void. It is Wednesday night, February the 6th on into the 7th, and we are live on KTLK Digital, broadcasting the Fringe FM. That website is thefringe.fm, and our show that we do every late night is Lighting the Void. That's lightingthevoid.com. Tonight, we're going to talk about our skies with the one and only Matt Landman, 5G and geoengineering, with the creator of the famous Truth documentary on chemtrails, Frankenskies. And if you want to call into the show, you can. Wait till I open up the phone lines, but that number is 1-800-588-0335. And also, you can text into the show as well at 501-777-5631, or you can contact me via email at contact@lightingthevoid.com. The thing about this is, you guys know that I've admitted time and time again that I buried my head in the sand a long time ago when it came to this stuff. And it was a real eye-opener when I saw Frankenskies. It was something that it just blew me away. And that's the hard part about it all, is all of this stuff that's been happening. This has been happening for all the way back to all the wars. It's been going on forever. Geoengineering, polluting our skies. These people are literally killing us. And the funny thing is we don't want to talk about it, right? We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to do anything about it because of cognitive dissonance, right? That's the first thing that happens. Then the second thing that happens is, well, what can I do about it? What can I do about it from my little place where I live? And Matt has been fighting the fight for a while now. And now that we've got this 5G coming up, this is another, in my opinion, could be a serious threat. And I'm glad he's finally on the show. Now, if you haven't, for some reason, heard about Matt Landman, he grew up in the East Coast and relocated to California in 2003, where he worked in finance and studied film at California State University of Humboldt and earned a master's degree in business administration with a focus in strategic sustainability in 2010. And he did a few careers in business and finance, and then he left the corporate world to be an organic farmer, where he inadvertently began his career as an activist. Working outdoors and dependent upon the elements, Matt witnessed weather engineering in Northern California as the region suffered from a historic and catastrophic drought. The realization that the weather has been manipulated via atmospheric aerosol dispersal changed his life forever, as he inevitably decided to devote his existence to exposing this hidden agenda. And in June of 2017, he released the groundbreaking documentary Frankenskies. And I think that they did a global summit in Tucson, Arizona in May of 2018, which is a good place to be. If it's a good location, considering all of the public launch of solar geoengineering, chemtrails, and all of the solutions to these things. But we need to do more of this. Now, while you're listening to the show, if you're on the web, there's two websites I want you to check out. I want you to check out Frankenskiesthemovie.com, and also go over to actualactivist.com. And Matt, thank you so much for spending time with us on Lighting the Void. It's a real pleasure.
Wow, that's a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. A lot of people have wanted, me to talk about this, but I don't know enough about it. I know plenty about it after watching your film, but I don't know enough about it to where I feel like, even when I watched Frankenskies today, and I watched it again today, and it does a perfect job at making a person feel like, what the hell are we doing? Like, why are we not stopping this, right? And at first you kind of feel helpless until you come on and show, and it's really inspiring to watch what you're doing. And you say, people don't like to be shook and told that they're dying, and they just want to get away from it. But the funny thing is some people only care about it until they start having health problems. But it gets real scary when you think about stuff like this, especially if you have children, you have friends, or you just generally care about people. And now that this 5G thing is out, I'm really starting to think, Matt, that like these people just do not care about what happens to us whatsoever in any means or fashion, and they'll just sell out whatever for $1. And I'm hoping tonight we can talk about some of the solutions on stopping this without getting ourselves in too much trouble.
Beautiful. Yeah, a lot of points there for sure worth mentioning, especially how you say that people are drawn into it once they realize that they're being adversely impacted on a health level, and then they're pulled into it because of the concern for themselves. That's especially going to be evident, I'm thinking, for 5G, because as you have a cell tower in your front yard, there's going to be an increase of people that are electrosensitive and having symptoms from being around all this escalated radio frequency, EMF, microwave radiation. And then again, you have those people coming in and that are impacted, and then you have an activist. It's just these people's path. You know, it's part of our lives, and we're going to see a lot of it, I feel like. So that's definitely worth noting. Thank you for that one. But yeah, there are solutions. There's ways to wiggle our way through it, especially when we're educated. So knowledge is power, you know, and so that's where we have to get there. And yeah, thanks for watching Franken's Guide. I think out of all of the documentaries out there on the topic especially, but even any film out there, it's seeking truth, you know, putting up anything really, you got to try to inspire the viewer, and I think that's what we did with Franken's Guide. We gave the activists an opportunity to feel inspired and empowered to be able to bring that truth forward and pass it on to other people and be able to be empowered to be able to share the information they've always wanted to in a palpable way that anybody can watch. You know, it's a difficult subject, especially when people have this cognitive dissonance and this social engineering and these ways that they see the world and the ways that they think about things like geoengineering, chemtrails, and stuff like that. So they already think of it one way, and trying to convince them is pretty difficult. But when you can just hand them a film or send them a link and come to them on their level, it's a lot easier. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing all this. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And I think the thing that I'm really worried about is we're now just figuring out that the pole or the magnetic north has actually shifted a little bit. And, you know, the one thing that I know about nature is it's kind of like it's kind of like the human body, right? It's going to heal itself. And this is another thing that I think that we're not taking into consideration. And maybe some scientists will laugh at this, but I tend to think, you know, if we keep wounding our planet, you know, like spraying the skies, you know, doing 5G and stuff, that's just, there's no telling what we're going to do next, by the way, after all this. But if we keep doing this, eventually I'm thinking that this planet's going to get sick of it and just start shaking off the fleas. You know what I mean? Like, I get that feeling from it.
No, yeah, and I feel that definitely. But can we back up? What is that about, anyways? That whole the pole is shifting. Like I caught that headline, and I mean,
that's about magnetic north shifting just a little bit. So they've actually had to change their maps. Now this is what's came out in the news, right? Now, so it's come out in the news. It's all over the news right now. Like in all the articles, magnetic north has shifted. A lot of people are talk about the pole shifts and stuff because they're worried that the poles are just going to shift instantaneously.
Yeah, but I don't believe
whatever.
the news. That's the thing. That's the one thing.
Right. So
what do you think? Keep going.
So when they say stuff like that, usually, and what I've tried to tell people on this show when we were talking about the Space Force, we were talking about the satellites, when all of this stuff comes out, you know that there's an agenda behind it. There cannot be at this day just general news anymore. It seems like everything has an ulterior agenda behind it nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's kind of why I kind of asked what your opinion was on that. And what it is it's an opportunity for us to be able to hone in our intuition and ask our gut and really be able to feel things and see through all of it, right? Like when the news came out that Russia hacked the elections, I don't know about you, but for me, it was almost laughable that the propaganda has gotten that extreme to divide people, and that now we're going back to a fear of Russia actually hacking our elections. You know,
right?
But you really have to hone in on. You start by asking your gut pretty much everything, and you got to hone in on that and be able to see through it all. And mostly, it's it's basically the opposite of what they're saying usually, or, you know, like complete propaganda or normalization of an ongoing treasonous thing like vaccines or chemtrails or whatever, but you already know the truth, and now they're coming out with fake clouds or whatever, you know. But yeah, it's pretty hilarious as it unfolds. One of my favorite parts in Frankenstein's, the movie that I made, the documentary, is the exposing of the news journalists and their scripted media throughout the entire nation, reading the exact same script in the local media. It's pretty hilarious to see how everything is controlled.
Yeah, I've seen that, where it shows every single news channel, all of the local networks saying the exact same script over and over. If that doesn't show you that it's coming down from the top, I don't know what will, right? And you're right. I mean, a long time ago, we used to have a bunch of different broadcast companies. I think there were at least 22 or something like that, right? And now they're down to 6, and they're probably going to keep shrinking it and keep buying each other out. And this is another thing that bothers me, Matt, that makes me sick just a little bit, is what people are willing to do for $1. You know, a lot of us walk around and we say that we won't do anything, we wouldn't hurt anybody. But let's say that you owned a small airport, and I'm not talking about big military, but let's just say you owned a small airport or whatever, and they came to you, the government came to you and wanted to give you a small contract for a few $1 million to spray some stuff. Right now, you and I would like to say, man, we wouldn't do that. And I really believe you wouldn't, by the way, Matt. But I'm not so sure that a lot of people out there wouldn't. So that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get people to understand the nature of this beast and what's really going on, you know.
Yeah, I've given that whole psyche of the people who are behind the scenes and all that sort of thing, I've given it a lot of thought, and I've narrowed it down to 3 categories. It's indoctrination, compartmentalization, and need-to-know basis, right? But as they're compartmentalized and indoctrinated, they think that they're doing something good, you know, like for the geoengineering, the chemtrails, the spraying of the skies, a lot of that is indoctrination through the global warming hoax, and through that they think that dimming the skies is beneficial to slow down the melting of the ice caps and the sea level rise and all that stuff. That's actually laughable if you really think about it. But yeah, it's different strokes for different folks. But yeah, I never would really get into it myself. I wouldn't see myself being able to buy any of that, even if I did it. Well, if I owned an airport, I'd already be balling. I wouldn't need their
Right.
money to spray the skies.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, what exactly are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about that because I remember watching a video of that guy that snuck into some department. I forget where he was at, but you could see the airplanes, and he was hiding his phone, and there was weather manipulation stuff everywhere, and he got someone to admit that they were doing it with his phone, but he was hiding it the whole time. And I was thinking, where the hell is he at? It looked like a small company that owned a few airplanes or something. So, I mean, this stuff is happening all over the place, and it's been happening for a long time. And I would like to figure out what your opinion is, Matt, that we need to do as a society. And I mean that, like, even in our local areas, what can we do to help stop this? I mean, if I go to my local congressman, or if I go to the Capitol or something, it seems like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like that's effective here, but it could be in other places. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, honestly, I think that there needs to be a shift in the psychology behind all of it. The truth is not even known by the masses. The whole psychology of the group the group understanding, the consensus reality behind who controls the weather, or does someone control the weather, or is it even controllable? We need to get to a point where everyone realizes that we can make it rain, because we're on the cusp of these escalating fires, which are pushing us into this weird agenda. And if people can wake up on a mass level to the realization that there's a power that's engineering windstorms to exacerbate fire conditions when they can make it rain, you know, like let's just get away from the conspiratorial, oh, they're making windstorms, even though they are, and let's just get to the flip side of it, which is kind of a positive aspect. which is they can make it rain. Okay, not only can they make it rain, but they can make clouds and they can make it rain right then and there. There's NASA videos on YouTube that I was just downloading the other day where these devices can just crank out clouds, and then they can feed the clouds and make it rain. This technology has been around for quite some time, and Frank has got the historical chronological stock footage, the timeline of weather modification history. It starts in the 20s. Well, where really in 1916, Professor Hatfield, he burst the dams in San Diego by making it rain for the county, and then was blamed for the floods from his first initial cloud seeding experiment. So we've been able to make it rain since 1916. The technology was so easily controllable and popular, especially post-Vietnam when the weather was weaponized over the Ho Chi Minh Trail, that we started to quietly not let the public know come the 80s and 90s, because we realized that we could use it as a weapon against ourselves. I mean, whatever sense that makes, so that's what seems to be the case. So the public, this is my answer to your question. The public needs to know that we can make it rain on forest fires, and just that truth can really lead people, because I really firmly believe that truth is a frequency. And once you start riding that frequency of truth and you can see the world through the lens of someone who's on that higher vibration and you're really on that level of truth, it changes your outlook, it changes everything, and together our group consciousness can elevate to a higher level, and everybody can be activated and help everyone else wake the heck up and all that sort of stuff. Because it's simple things, simple things like, well, if there's mass drought and all this exacerbated storms, and it really gets really interesting if you start just the weather modification, okay? Because exacerbated hurricanes and all these things, they're saying, oh, climate change, and now we're in this problem reaction solution Hegelian dialectic, where the problem reaction solution has led us from climate change is bad as a problem, the reaction is fear, and the solution is somehow geoengineering, which is now becoming normalized and public as a solution to global warming / climate change, where global warming and climate change have now become somehow synonymous, where the heating of the planet and exacerbated storm conditions and crazy winter weather is now just global warming and climate change. It's all mixed together because of this media control of vocabulary that has got us conditioned to thinking that whatever they say is truth. I've got this quote, and then I'll pass the mic to you. You can take truth as the authority, or you can take authority as the truth. The choice is yours, right? So when you're being spoon-fed all this problem reaction scenarios to get you to the point where you're actually consenting to geoengineering, which is the dimming of your skies, literally the control of your sunlight, because you're being told that sea levels are going to rise to the point that New York is going to be underwater. It's like go somewhere that's been zero sea level for your entire lifetime. Nothing's shifted. If erosion has occurred somewhere, then erosion has occurred, but there's been no sea level changes, and nor will there be. So there's all this propaganda to get you into this fear place, and polar bears on ice caps, even though they're thriving, to get you to a place where you don't realize that you're being escorted down this narrow hallway to this reality at the end of the hallway that they've conceived this.
Yeah, it's like they're holding you by both arms and walking you down the aisle, and you're not thinking for yourself at all. All right, I get what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you hit, and it kind of hit me when you said, the idea that what these people do is they sell you a problem and a solution at once, and so they're playing on your fears and hopes at the same time. Here's the fear part of it, right? Here's the problem. Let's, make them afraid. And then here's the solution. And then nobody says anything, right? Okay. Well, they figured it out, so we don't have to do anything now. Thank God. Right. And that's what it's always been. Not always been, but here lately. And with I don't know what you think about the 5G stuff with what's going on with this, but the idea that they're going to have 20,000, when these companies get all these satellites in orbit, there's going to be over 20,000 5G satellites in the orbit. That's insane to even think about. Not to mention what they're going to have here on land. and how they're camouflaging them and stuff. And that's something else I wanted to talk to you about, because if we're being poisoned by all this stuff that they're raining on our heads, and then we're going to be put in a microwave, we got to do something, man. Like, we got to do something about this. And it does bother me now that I understand what you're saying is, yeah, we need to do something about this for sure. But we still have people in the public that just don't believe it. Even that's hard for me to believe. It's hard for me to believe when I say that. There are still people out there that don't believe in chemtrails. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, definitely. Well, the manufacturer consent for the geoengineering program and the acceptance of geoengineering, even though it actually looks just like the conspiracy that was chemtrails for years, and this social engineering, cultural engineering, with throughout the media and cartoons and video games and movies and all of this programming, the powers that be have done a very good job of normalizing this as norm. There's nothing to see here. To ignore the abnormal appearance of lines and the abnormal air traffic in your, the irregular patterns of air traffic in your sky over your home, and but I think, so to answer your question is, yeah, people definitely think that that's a conspiracy still, even though it's being normalized in their faces. But the 5G, they're not going to be able to deny a small cell tower built on their city block or even in front of their home. And to back up to what you mentioned about the satellite network of the 5G, I'm not really sure what I think about all of that. That seems to me like a little bit of some crazy
Right.
fear, because I do know a lot about the 5G, and I'd love to go there. But the thing is the technology. It's a 1 millimeter wave, and the technology that we have for this 1 millimeter wave is we can really turn it up, and it can go not very far. So we have to have every 100 feet, every few homes, even 500 feet max is what they use zoning if you're lucky in your town and you're proactive and you get some zoning restrictions or what have you. You can have these cell towers that are 500 feet from your home or 500 feet from each other, or even 1,000. You can get them specific different distances from one another. But the carrier wave can only go a certain distance, this 1 millimeter. So I don't understand how it could be propagated throughout with a satellite network. What good that would do, because how could that satellite network then beam down to the towers down here? I don't know. I honestly, whenever I even hear about the whole satellite 5G thing, kind of makes me cringe, and maybe that's just because I know the science and I know the technology, and I know that what are they even talking about? But it kind of just feels like it's part of the propaganda machine to have kind of people not even in the know about it, because it is kind of complicated and it is hard to understand, especially considering it's invisible, and we've been convinced through our gadgets and our love of our devices that all of this stuff is pretty safe and normal to be around.
Yeah, I was looking at the bids on the satellites for like the different companies that bid on it. It was like Verizon and all these other communication companies, and it added up to 20,000 satellites. And I was thinking, what? And I'm not a tech guru at all. Like, I don't understand. I worked for Verizon for a while, even in the tech field, but I don't really understand it all the way down to its core. But 20,000 satellites to be launched and bid on by all these different companies does seem a little extensive. Like, I don't know why they would need it. It's explained on the web and several places. But then again, when it comes to this stuff, Matt, I don't know who or what to trust anymore, especially when it comes to the internet and the news. I don't know what sources to listen to, right? So a lot of the times I get my sources from people that do heavy research. Like you or some people on other radio networks like Truth Frequency Radio. There's some great people on there. We've got people on here that do good stuff. And when I get on the internet, I'll read something like, okay, I'm trying to figure out why they need all these satellites. And it's still, I've got a page pulled up here. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. And I guarantee when I get down to the bottom of it, I probably won't understand it at all.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm just, and I agree with you 100%. And I just think that at the end of the day, if you really get down to the nitty gritty, that seems like a distraction. Like, oh well, we've got 20,000 satellites up there while they're putting a small cell tower on your block.
Meanwhile, we're getting fried down here. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, and it's just kind of this it's this weird propaganda of a distraction element, and we've got all this infrastructure, this tower in front of your house, it's got to go because those 20,000 satellites, they got to relay off of something, but the technology's not there. It's just bouncing around very short distances because it's a 1 millimeter wave, right? So who are they trying to fool? I'd like to say that I was really excited yesterday. I went down to the city of Marin. There's a nice group of activists in Marin County that have been going to these 5G meetings and speaking to their town council and their city councils, their county board of supervisors and what have you at these meetings, and giving their 3-minute testimonies each on the adverse health impacts and what have you, and reasons why not to have 5G. And I shot down there because I'm in Northern California now. I shot down there and did a little filming, and even gave my 3 minutes as well. And it was amazing, actually. I think that Marin is in the hot seat right now. I think that out of everywhere in the country, this is the most likely community that could actually make their maybe the entire county a no 5G zone, but we'll have to see what happens. But at least there's talk of opting out, or at least considering distances from different things like schools and neighborhoods and what have you. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully that they can develop a framework that other places can adopt, because 5G hasn't necessarily hit everywhere yet. It's only really been launched in 5 cities, according to Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile, the companies that are involved in it right now. But the infrastructure is getting deployed right here, right now. And there's all these weird rules that the FCC is putting up about shot clocks, saying that they can only argue against the where these towers are for 90 days once they're told that they're going to be put in, what have you, these different shot clock rules that the FCC is putting in. And Trump is basically calling it a deployment, and the FCC is saying, Trump is saying you can't get in the way of the telecom's deployment. It's like federal mandate. It's got to go nationwide by this certain date, which they were thrown around 2020, but just to get the infrastructure in place by then is just ridiculous. I don't see them being able to put this together for quite some time. So we do have time to bring it to our counties. But either way, the FCC, the only thing that they're worried about is the way that these things look. They've said that you can't deny these towers just based on human health impact, that health cannot be considered in the deployment of this technology. So that's one note to consider. Like, why would they even mention that? Mm-hmm. And the fact that they can even say that, and who are they to say that? And who is this commission, Federal Communications Commission, and what ruling? I mean, how can they even go there? So I recommend people, before these towers are put in your neighborhood, to check out the website My Street, My Choice, and see what kind of frameworks are put in place for you to take on your rights. You know, it's going to be a lot easier to deny these things before they're put up. It'll be a little harder to take them down once they're there.
Yeah, I like the way my head is right now. You know, I don't want it messed with at all, especially by any more towers or any more chemicals. I just don't like the thought of it, man. And it doesn't matter what I like or don't like. The stuff's coming, folks, and we got to do what we got to do to stop it, man. That's all there is to it. And we're here with Matt Landman from FrankenSkiesTheMovie.com, ActualActivist.com. We'll be right back right after this.
Artificial flowers made out of Annie's despair. Now with paper and sheets.
Portion of the show is being brought to you by The Sun. When looking for a constant light source and a massively dense gravitational field about which to revolve, more planets choose the sun than any other star in the solar system. So remember, always look on the bright side. Look to the sun.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio. The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTOK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Do you ever wonder why there's so much show in politics? Do you ever wonder why America's not getting fixed? Ever wonder why our media is not reporting the news? They report only their biased opinion. Are you tired of feeling like a controlled rat? Do you wonder what's next? If you're looking for answers, join me, Ronnie McMullen, for my new show, Deep Waters Radio. That's Deep Waters Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Fringe FM.
Hi, this is Aaron Hunter, host of Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast where we tell real paranormal experiences of people from around the world. And we also conduct interviews with authors, investigators, psychics, and mediums. Real people, real stories, real fear. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM. See you then.
When you're always on the go, it can be a hassle getting the proper servings of veggies and fruits into your everyday diet. Life gets hectic, making it hard for us to always make healthy food choices. Not to mention it's pretty expensive. Wouldn't it be great to ditch the long grocery store lines, but still get your fruits and veggies all at once? What you need is Balance of Nature Fruits and Veggies capsules, made with 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and grown right here in the USA. Balance of Nature is 100% natural, safe, and affordable. For a limited time, use discount code TALK and you'll get 35% off your first preferred set of Balance of Nature fruit and veggie capsules, along with free shipping. Call 1-800-246-8751 today. Ready for the real results you want and need? Then you need Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751 and use code TALK.
When I'm done running with the wolves after hunting down a half-ton bison, I look forward to a mind-teetering escapade evening on the Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Cortana from Shift Happens, telling you to pour a glass and park your ass because you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Shifthead.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with You fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Howdy, this is Catalina, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. Tonight we're here with Matt Landman. The website is frankenskiesthemovie.com, also actualactivist.com. Please go check those websites out while we are live on the air, because I know you're browsing anyways. And then if you're listening to the podcast version, well, of course, the links are going to be into the show. But Matt, you know, something that really bothered me, and I would like to say that all of the chemicals really bother me. I'm just going to be honest with you. All of the chemicals really bother me, the diseases, all of the things that can bother me about these things. The top thing that bothers me the most, and I don't know why, I'm just being honest, is the fact that our skies are going to change. Like, we could literally see a day where our sun, now it's already changing, but it's not there. Our skies could no longer be blue. And I mean, it could even mess up the night sky. I mean, I am a lover of the sky, man. I really am. Especially, everybody likes a beautiful sky, you know? And I don't know why that bothers me more than anything, more than all the diseases and everything. It bothers me that they're just screwing up our scenery, man. Like they have no right to do this crap, you know? You know what I mean? I'm just being honest with you.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. And just for people listening that aren't completely aware, there is a scheme to dim the sun because of the supposed threat from global warming. So soon enough, it'll be public and normal for the sky to be whitened with aerosol spraying via, whether it be balloons or planes, but either way, they'll be spraying white chemicals in front of the sun to dim our skies. And, yeah, we may lose our blue skies in our lifetime. But I already have seen the impacts. I witnessed the sun rises and sunsets, almost all of them. Nearly 100% of them are sprayed. And also the sunlight has shifted, in my opinion. It's a much whiter light. I think it's because of the persistent aerosols that are sticking to the stratosphere from the constant, and the troposphere from the constant spraying. But yeah, I've already seen a difference. But imagine children that are born today, you know, or children that are born in a few years. They may never see the blue skies that we witnessed as children.
Right.
It's pretty sad.
Right. Yeah, that's the stuff I worry about.
And trust me, I know that's a tough one. You know, there's the vaccines and whatever, you know, and all these fluoride, all that stuff. And there's all these different outs, you know, like you can somehow get out of the vaccine thing, or you can shop at buy organic or whatever, or don't, you know, get the filtered water, all this stuff. But like, if someone comes along and destroys your sky and you can't see stars anymore, you know, then you can't see stars anymore. That's it. You know, it's not like you can go shop somewhere else. That's pretty much it. So that's why that's been my passion so much. And yeah, I did. Like in your introduction, you said I devoted my life to activism and especially chemtrails. I did, but all of a sudden I'm diving into the new space of electromagnetic frequencies and 5G, and I'm actually working on a new movie
cool.
about frequency. Yeah, I'm working on a new movie about frequency, and it's going to talk about 5G and all that. And I'm actually launching a clothing line that is protective of electromagnetic frequency, EMF radiation, radio frequency radiation, the radiation from smart meters, smart devices, and the 5G infrastructure, small cells, and all that sort of stuff. It's basically an armor. The clothing line. Basically, it's essentially an armor. The clothing is lined with either copper threads or silver threads or steel threads, and the radiation, these microwaves, they bounce off of your armor. So I'm really excited to get that together. I've got a clothing line, a GoFundMe up to raise awareness on it. Even if you don't want to donate, just check it out. I've got all the research I've done on how the material works and what the non-ionizing radiation does and the experiments that exist out there. It's GoFundMe.com/protectionclothing. But yeah, it's really neat. I'm excited to have this as a success because I want to bring this concept into the collective consciousness. You know, I want competition. I want other people to learn about it and to talk about it and to realize that this may actually be a need in this impeding 5G technology on your doorstep, you know. So as a nonviolent, proactive approach, I want to bring some safety along with awareness, especially to children. There'll be a children's line, and especially to pregnant women. That's the first priority, is to bring some protection to pregnant women.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that unborn and newborn babies have something to protect them from this EMF radiation or RF radiation. It's going to be pretty much everywhere if the 5G does do what they say that it's going to do.
Is it on GoFundMe right now?
Yeah, it's GoFundMe.com/protectionclothing. It's on there right now. I put it up like a week and a half ago or something like that, and I'm very excited about the donations thus far. And I'm enticing people to donate $50 or more, and you get I'm getting these handmade copper cell phone pouches made by a local seamstress at a small shop up here in Northern California, and I'm sending those out. They protect from the cell phone radiation, but you don't even lose all your bars. So it's pretty cool just to even have the pouch to not be exposed to all the radiation coming off your own phone. And speaking of which, I really encourage people out there, if you're new to even hearing about like what electromagnetic frequency radiation is and the damages that may cause, or you're realizing that, you know, like your neighbor got a brain tumor and like why did that happen or something like that, and could it have been caused by their smart digital meter on their home, the utility meter that emits a signal that can go 30 miles, a radio frequency microwave signal that can go 30 miles. If you're on the other side of the wall from that trying to sleep, or if there's even a grid of them from living in an apartment complex, you know, you got to think that something can be disrupted. There's so many different things in your body that can be disrupted, especially the brain chemistry, where your melatonin and dopamine precursors and serotonin, all these different things, you're on this biological clock, this circadian rhythm, and it can get easily disrupted with this radiation that we're increasingly being surrounded by. So I encourage people to check out the crowdfund, but not just that. There's a lot of different resources out there, and if you really get involved and you really get questioning and you really, really want to get involved and learn and really like take science into your own hands, because that's the only way to really learn something. You know, there's observation and there's taking science into your own hands, and I really encourage people to get themselves their own meter. If you can get involved and get yourself your own meter, spend anywhere from $50 to a few $100, and you can measure the radiation coming off of your phone, off your Wi-Fi router, off the meter, your utility meter on the side of your house, if you have one that's not analog, or even the small cell towers that are being put into your neighborhood and what have you. So, like, if you get one of those meters, then you'll know what you're being surrounded by, what your kids and family are being subjected to, and then you can, you know, research like are those high levels of radiation. Maybe that's impacting my, you know, life in one way or another. And I mean, it's really important to know what you're being surrounded by, and then learn about the impacts, and then learn how you can mitigate those risks through maybe protective clothing or a certain diet, or just turning your Wi-Fi router off at night. I've been really encouraging people to put their phones on airplane mode when they're sleeping. That totally turns off all the radiation. I encourage people not to use Bluetooth technology. It actually pretty bad. It's a microwave. You know, these headphones that are Bluetooth technology, it's a microwave signal going right to your head. It's like putting your head in a microwave. And I'm sorry, I know, you know, it's convenient and maybe you invested a little bit of money in it, but isn't your health and your happiness a lot more important than the $50 that you may have, you know, wasted? No offense.
Well, they're kind of forcing it on you too with some of these devices where they take the cord option out. I remember the iPhone did that, where they took the cord option for the headphones out. It's almost like you had to use Bluetooth. That kind of sucked. Look, man, a lot of this stuff worries me because I used to play this video game, and some of you people have probably played it, and it kind of holds a theme to the show a little bit. But I don't know if you ever played that video game Fallout. But I wonder just how long it will be until we're actually, if we're not close there already, to where actually have to carry around a Pep Boy or something to figure out just how much, you know, radiation and frequencies and crap and chemtrails. Like, how long can we go outside and be around this stuff before we need to go back to our bunker? You know, that's not that is not the world I want to live in, but I think we're probably headed that way, you know?
Well, the people that aren't able to mitigate their risks, like if you're on that vibration of truth, then you'll learn about things like detoxing and chelation and different things to take your health into your own hands and heal yourself if you're getting sensitive and what have you. I encourage people to look up what chelation is. CHELATION, or chelate, 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 or it looks like chelate. But it's the process of pulling heavy metals out of your body. Okay, a lot of us, that's not every one of us, we've got heavy metals in our body from the foods and the water and the air and just living our lives. We're exposed to some stuff, you know, and you can pull it out of your body with stuff like diatomaceous food grade diatomaceous earth, or silica supplements, or zeolite, spirulina, or chlorella. You know, there's things out there, or cilantro. I encourage people to get their levels tested in their hair, or even their rainwater samples to see what they're being exposed to on the day where they're questioning what all that stuff was and all those lines were in the sky that day and what have you. You know, it just seems like we just have to take the truth into our own hands, and it is so empowering to just learn it on your own and to verify. You know, you can't trust anything anymore. Science can be bought so much. I'll tell you, I saw a research study funded by Coca-Cola that Coca-Cola was more hydrating than water.
Oh my God!
The study, and literally, this is like at the top of the Google search. Like, I put in something about water and hydration, and you know, the test subject, they drank 12 ounces of Coca-Cola, and they drank 12 ounces of water. And when they drank the water, they urinated more of the water. And if they drank the Coca-Cola, they retained more of the Coca-Cola than they did the water. So the conclusion was that the Coca-Cola was hydrating them more because more of it was staying in their body. And so this like school of thought is that Coca-Cola is better for you than water based on that principle of, you know, hydration, right? But it's bought science. It's paid for by, sponsored by, funded by, like Coca-Cola, you know? And then they gave Google big money, and now it's at the top of the search, and you got somebody out there reading that thinking it's truth because they believe that they wouldn't be lied to, you know, and that's nice, but like, we got to get past being naive and really resonate on that vibration of truth and know that we can take care of ourselves. But first we have to realize which of these lies is holding us hostage, you know what I mean? And so knowing that we need to cleanse ourselves and knowing that we're mineral deficient, all of us are mineral deficient. We are not getting minerals that we need to be this healthy, like with a proper functioning everything, immune system and endocrine system and all that stuff. We need all these different minerals that we are deficient in, and we're short on them. because basically it's not in the soil or the food anymore that our ancestors had, because all it really takes to grow anything is nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, NPK, right? So all these other elements that we should have, we're deficient in. For instance, magnesium, for every molecule of sugar that we eat, and we get sugar here and there, even if we're really good, we're getting some sugar here and there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us get a lot more than others, right? But for every molecule of sugar that we intake, it takes our body 54 molecules of magnesium to process one molecule of sugar. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a 54-to-1 ratio, and if you're not out there getting some magnesium in you supplement-wise, then you're deficient, right? And then when you're exposed, then that's just one mineral, okay? There's all these other instances of why we're deficient in all these other minerals, right? But we're not really educated on it enough, and we don't know. But lo and behold, magnesium is the central atom in the chlorophyll molecule, and so if you're getting a lot of greens, raw greens, and you're getting a lot of chlorophyll, then you can get your magnesium back. And if you're leveling it out and not doing too much sugar, and you're not doing refined sugar at least, you know that Monsanto bought out the sugar beet seeds, and that all the sugar beets are all the sugar. If it just says sugar and it's not cane sugar, it's Monsanto. They bought all the sugar beet seeds. It's crazy. It's all GMO. So if you're going to eat sugar, then you got to eat the right sugar, or you're really demineralizing yourself. But if you take the truth in your own hands and you get these minerals in your body that you're deficient on through different means, you can get colloidal mineral supplements, colloidal silver, gold, all these things that are not in our soil anymore. They used to be, but they're not, because everything is money now. It's all agriculture businesses that you're buying from, and they're not putting colloidal silver, colloidal gold in their soil because they don't have to, and it costs money, And so these elements that our ancestors had in the soil because they were using fresh whatever, So either way, long story short, we can learn how to protect ourselves, because when we're deficient in minerals, for instance, we're absorbing minerals that are toxic from the environment, trying to get our deficiencies back up to levels where we can operate and be healthy and not have to rely on. When we're really healthy and running on 8 cylinders or whatever, nothing can stop us. Like, our immune systems are so intellectual, and our bodies are built to the degree that we can really elevate and literally be. We can be co-creators of a magical existence. That's why they're trying to hold us down onto a level, but it's just that goes in another esoteric direction. But yeah, the truth.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for listening to me ramble. The truth is all about just taking the power into your own hands and not playing this role of this victim psychology, this victimhood, where our consent is being manufactured and our psychology is being coerced through propaganda,
I totally agree with you on that. And that is one of the biggest reasons, Matt, that when I do selective shows about conspiracy, and when I say conspiracy, I don't even consider this conspiracy because it's really happening. But because here's why. When I get into it, people are like, man, we're just slaves. This is a slave society. I can't wait to get off this planet. Not only that's the first stuff I hear. Then I hear about dark cabals and archons and all this other stuff, and I'm thinking, do you guys just not see what a human being and with a lot of money will do? That's evil enough. It doesn't have to be a dark cabal. It doesn't have to be an archon or some type of reptilian. It's these bastards that are in power that make billions and billions of dollars, what they are willing to do to protect it and make more and sustain their lifestyles. The military-industrial complex just as well. Yes, they will kill you. And that's all you need to know. It doesn't have to be an alien or something, that's, and I'm totally with you on that.
The thing with that, no. And I hear you, and I've met all sorts of people, different walks of life, all sorts of stuff, because I'm out there often with flyers. It's changed my life going to different events or even just the street and passing out flyers to people and seeing where people are at on different levels, and coming to them with flyers about chemtrails, flyers about weather modification, and finally flyers about my film Frankenstein. But I've learned about people like, and all of that, the reptilians and all that sort of whatever scapegoat that they have. But I'll tell you why. My theory is everyone out there is nice. No one can put themselves in those shoes of some sociopathic, evil people that want to block out the sun and depopulate through vaccinations and this and that and this and that. It's like people, like the general person out there is a kind, nice person. And actually the media doesn't want you to think that. They want you to be in fear and not even make eye contact with anybody. But most people are actually pretty freaking nice, I'll tell you that. And it's the programming that wants you to think otherwise. But once you get up to speed and you know that, the world becomes a better place.
Yeah, man, you're so right about that. Like, most of the individuals I meet in my life are not, like, where are all these crazy evil folks, right? But I really don't meet them. But then again, I will tell you the type of people that do scare me. And I'm not afraid to say the guy's name is that David Keith character, whatever his name is, the scientist guy, and Franken's guy is talking about, kind of pushing the idea of geoengineering, also while delivering a confusing message to the audience and himself too. Like, the guy's, to me, is, I know he's a scientist, which, by the way, I think is like the priestcraft of today, because everybody looks to the scientists for all the answers. But it kind of freaks me out, because not only these guys they got big money behind them, but they're really are the guys, I'm telling you, and we've talked about this before, man. There really are mad scientists in the world that get tons of money to do things with no oversight that could kill us all at any point in time. I really believe that, though. I don't want to freak people out, but some of these projects I've seen, not just geoengineering, but I'm talking about stuff with lasers and all this other stuff, CERN, things like that. That stuff, what they're willing to do in the name of science, they're definitely willing to kill a few people to figure stuff out. That's for sure.
Well, isn't that true? They'll experiment on the public without their consent, just to see, how something works and what have you. So for the people out there wondering about who that reference was, David Keith. Well, in my film Frankenskies, which I didn't realize at the time how important Frankenskies was for it to come out in June 2017, but it came out in June 2017. And the film, it begins in the 1920s, it goes through chronological timeline, and it gets to June 2017, all the way from the 1920s. And so that's like a time stamp on the timeline, June 2017, and where we were with geoengineering right then and there. And where we were was David Keith trying to normalize the potential for geoengineering as a solution to global warming. But now he's taken it a step further, and he's doing an experiment that was slated for a year ago, but I think because of the conference that I hosted in Tucson last year, the third annual Global Chemtrails Summit, or the Summit to Stop Geoengineering, we made some waves down there and brought some attention to an experiment that's supposed to happen last year, but now it's happening this year, where this experiment led by David Keith is set to spray nanoparticulate aluminum in the sky in front of the sun with this high-tech balloon technology. There's this company called Worldview Enterprises. I encourage people to look this up. And through David Keith and Worldview Enterprises, they're doing this experiment called SCOPEX, SCOPEX, which is the Stratospheric Controlled Perturbation Experiment. All right, and in this perturbation experiment, they're spraying different chemicals, but especially different variable sizes of oxidized aluminum, nanoparticulate aluminum, aerosols. So if you've been studying or looking into geoengineering or chemtrails over the past couple decades, you'll realize that actually aluminum's been sprayed quite some time. A fire accelerant has been sprayed on all of these forests for a few decades, and it's actually caused some exacerbated fire conditions in Northern California and throughout the world, really. But that's another story. So the aluminum is already being used, but they want to normalize it and say that it's being researched as a potential, and then they'll say, oh, we've discovered that aluminum is going to be used, and here we're going to spray it in front of the sky, and it's going to look like those lines that you saw the past decade, but don't worry about those lines. Those lines were different lines, but these new lines are the savior to save you from the polar ice caps and those dying polar bears and all that. So yeah, and it is laughable, because once you start seeing through the lens of the truth from a higher vibration, you're like, wow, how could they possibly get away with that? But the normalization and the propaganda and the ridicule psychology, I've really been doing a little going deep and really thinking, meditating, and discovering and researching Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays, Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consent, and how you get a public to concede to something to the point where you've manufactured consent that they actually want something that's actually maybe even harmful to them, because you've coerced them through propaganda, like propaganda on top of propaganda on top of propaganda, to get them into this threshold where you want them, wherever you want them, whether it takes the problem, reaction, solution, Hegelian dialectic we spoke of earlier, or some other maneuvering of social engineering. But the engineering of the culture, especially with Hollywood and control, I mean, it's palpable. It's right there, right before our eyes. So if you can take a step back and see, what they're trying to pull. And then everyone wants to know the who, what, why, where, and when they really start to wake up. Like, why would they actually do that? Well, complete control of the sky. They get to dictate who gets sunlight, who gets no sunlight, who gets rain, who gets no rain.
That's
that enough
power.
That is ultimate power. And if you go back in Frankenstein's or in the historical footage and you see JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson talking about, if you own the weather, you control the world. It's simple as that.
And they're using mad scientists to do it, man. And that's the thing. Like, yeah, look, there's nothing we can do about it. This global warming, it's already happening. So look, we're going to put some of this stuff in the sky just a little bit. And yeah, it might kill a few people. That's okay. It won't kill thousands, maybe just a few thousand people, but at least it won't kill millions. And we don't really have a long-term solution for this. And just some of the stuff they talk about, man, is crazy to me. But I do want to talk a little bit more 5G with you and talk about maybe your new movies coming up and stuff. We do got to take another break here. I'm here with Matt Landman, guys. Frankenskies, themovie.com, actualactivist.com. Go check it out. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Portion of the show is being brought to you by clouds. Yes, when looking for nice white puffy things to float around in the sky overhead, more people choose clouds than any other 3 atmospheric condensations combined. And remember, this week only, every cloud has a silver lining. Offer void where prohibited.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Magic, the occult, history, health, news. These are just a few subjects discussed on my radio broadcast, The Secret Teachings. I offer unique and objective perspectives on new and old subjects alike, while welcoming guests and presenting my own research with no filter. Visit my website for more information and to subscribe to my archive at www.thesecretteachings.info, and find me on The Fringe FM live Monday through Friday, midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern on The Fringe FM.
Hi, this is Sammy. Join us in the Deep South as we're lighting the void with Joe Roop on The Fringe FM.
Your home has needs. It needs a healthy, dry environment all year round. Start by getting rid of the worst air in the basement and crawl space, where the problems begin and make the whole house sick. Introducing the new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. It has advanced technologies to continuously reduce moisture, mold, and odors, and expel radon, gases, and pollutants. And now, Wave units include carbon monoxide detection to automatically expel air at a high rate and send you an alert. It also has an app so you can remotely monitor the conditions. Wave is a comprehensive, maintenance-free, affordable solution that will transform your entire home. Protect your home and family with what it needs. Give it a new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. For more information, call 888-717-WAVE. That's 888-717-WAVE. Or go to dryhealthyhome.com. That's dryhealthyhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find us on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code POWERSAVE to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, we will include our #1 rated appetite suppressant spray free with your order. Whatever your diet plans are, start with us at faststartdiet.com and use promo code POWERSAVE.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Yohoy there, Gigi here.
And I'm Cortana, and we're going to bring you on a journey through all things paranormal, metaphysical, ufology, and even psychedelic on our show,
Shift Happens, live, Fridays at 7 p.m. Pacific, that's 10 p.m. Eastern, on the Fringe FM.
And remember, kids, don't feed the Archons. Feed ducks instead.
Duck up.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. We're here with Matt Landman. I hope you guys have went and checked it out. If you've never seen Frankenskies, the movie, you need to watch that documentary for real and go to actualactivist.com. Matt, I know you've been on quite a few radio shows, and I've listened to you on some friends of mine's radio shows as well. And I wonder, here's something that's bothered me too about the censorship. And I got to ask you, which I'm sure people have asked this question to you before, but I have to ask you so I can measure this. How bad is the censorship now? I mean, is your stuff getting censored on YouTube and Facebook? Are you seeing these shadow bans and all of these types of things happening to you as well?
Yeah, well, the censorship is really real. It's unreal. I don't even know where to begin. So, okay, for people out there that think that it's not going on, I'll tell you it's going on, and we'll just start with that. For instance, since I came out with Frank's Guys in 2017, I've been on, like you said, I've been on a bunch of shows. Mm-hmm. So I got some of those archived, like the links, and I went back because I was really proud of a couple of them. I had just done a Kev Baker show, and also, so Kev Baker is in Scotland, and then there's a guy in the UK, Jim, what's it called? Jimmy. It's his name, and it's flipping. It's a big show.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Jimmy, I can't think of his name either, but I know who you're talking about.
Either way, I went back to the show that I was on, and it was gone, right? For both the Kev Baker show and, oh man, it'll come back. He's good.
And you went to go pull it up, and it wasn't there?
And it was gone. It was completely gone. So I contacted them, and I said, well, what happened? And they said, well, my entire library was taken down. And it's not just them. There's the Health Food Ranger. There's been complete channels removed, right? And I went back and shows that I'd done that had Richie Allen, that's his name. Sorry, whatever I was saying, Jimmy. So Richie Allen showed at the big show, right? Mm-hmm. Kev Baker showed at the big show. Yep. They both had thousands of shows on their YouTube channel, thousands of what are actually invaluable records of truth about, you name it, thousands of interviews. I mean, that's a complete library. Someone's complete lifetime's work, like imagine that. Imagine those two channels, right? And then one day they're just all gone because YouTube comes up with some random reason and just removes the channel. Okay, it's happened to just these targeted truth alternate media networks, and the channels are just gone with all of the content removed. Okay. So then they have to fight, and then they come back with their library's gone, but they have their followers, right? So both those channels, they started over from scratch, but just in that, I lost 3 shows, right? And I had these 3 links that are now dead, and I had them up on my website, frankisguysthemovie.com. On frankisguysthemovie.com, I have the film, and then I have like a little resume of myself with my presentations, some of my shows that I've been on, some of the work that I've done, so you can get to know me, listen to some of my stuff. But I really do encourage you to check out frankisguysthemovie.com, because if you haven't seen the movie, just the first 5 minutes will change your outlook on the whole thing. It's completely self-evident. All truths go through stages. And at this stage, just by popping in that movie, and you can hit me up, frankisguys@gmail.com, if you want to contact me, if you want to even get your hands on a DVD. I have DVDs. But really, the truth is self-evident once you see the historical footage and realize that they were perfecting they were fine-tuning their weather modification tools quite some time ago. Quite some time ago.
It goes all the way back before, all the way back to World War II, doesn't it? Even further back than that.
Back to the 20s, yeah. It goes back to the 20s. So it's important. So the censorship, okay. I had also, so there's all these different circumstances, and this is the real world. Okay, I've built myself up through different shows and things that I've done. I'm on Facebook. My name's Matt Landman, and I have followers. Okay, I've got 37,000 followers, and I used to, when I had half that many followers, I would feed the beast a lot. I would post a lot of good, truth-oriented posts on my website, actualactivists.com. It's divided into fluoride, GMO, chemtrails, and vaccines. And so usually when I'm posting, or if I'm on my page, Actual Activist, or if I'm on my Matt Landman account, I'm usually posting about those 4 topics. But I'll go into all sorts of things like, why does NASA have a budget of $50 million per day? I can't talk about crisis actors because I'll get banned from being able to post.
Yeah, I'll get banned for that one. But before you move away from that subject, the crisis actors thing, just watch Frankenskies. Okay, let's not use the word crisis actors, I guess, or whatever. But I don't care. I'm not worried about being banned, to be honest with you. But this stuff is real, man. Okay, that's all there is to it. Like, there's stuff that's going on where people go out during the riots. It's real. There's no doubt about it.
No, yeah. So what happened with my Facebook account, and this is just another example, is when I had 10,000 followers, if I posted something, it would be seen, and it would get, likes. It would get thousands of likes, to be honest with you. And I've worked my way up from 10,000 to 37,000. And there was a time around a year and a half ago where all of a sudden everything just stopped getting any attention, like zero. And whereas when I would go on Facebook Live and thousands of people would see it, now I go on Facebook Live and 38 people would see it, and you can see how many people can see that you're on your Facebook Live. And there's something happened. I got turned on to some sort of censorship algorithm, and that was that for my reach. And it's happened to a lot of people. Certain things are being filtered, and freedom of speech is being altered into this, conform or we'll take everything away, that you hold dear. Complete libraries of information. I've talked to people that have been unsubscribed from my YouTube channel. I've talked to people that have viewed my film on YouTube and then gone back the next day, and it's got less views than when they watched it. It should have gone up one when they watched it, and instead it's lost views. There's all sorts of stuff like that, but it's all been especially happening over the past few years. And simultaneously, while the truth is being censored, we've got an uptick in this propaganda machine to misdirect and disinform the public. It's an interesting beast, All we can do is rise above it. There's no other option.
I wonder sometimes, and I have to ask you, because a lot of people are watching like Joe Rogan and Alex Jones go at it and stuff, and they tend to let that stuff fly. Even I've seen some YouTube channels today where people are relaying Alex Jones' show, and then you got people that are really down in the dirt that are really not just talking about this stuff, but providing you the evidence and documentation in their content like you are. And I can tell a little bit that you've been fighting. You can hear it actually in your voice that you've been in this fight for a while. And I just wonder, man, do you ever get discouraged? Honestly, like, you ever get to like, man, am I wasting my time?
Oh man, of course, but I've got to stay loyal to my integrity, and I've got to honor the next generation, and there's so much to fight for, and the more traction that I get, the more responsibilities that I have, and the more I've got to, face it. But does it depress the crap out of me sometimes? Yeah. The more that I learn that there's an ongoing battle between good and evil on Earth, the more that the reality is a big kick in the face, But there's this Thomas Jefferson quote, and maybe Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner, maybe he was a bad guy, I'm not really sure, but he did have a couple quotes that I like to rattle off. And one of them is, if you have the ability to help someone in need, you have that responsibility to help that person, right? And I feel like that I've learned so much just from diving in and devoting my life to chemtrails, and now rolling into this 5G space and invisible, frequency technology, and trying to explain to people what's going on in our world, from smart devices to geoengineering and all that sort of stuff. The more that I learn, the more I'm carrying this torch of responsibility, because I have the ability to reach these people, because I've learned how to meet people on their level with going out with flyers and DVDs. I'll go out with a Frankenstein DVD, and I'm giving this to someone, and they're going to watch it, I'm not going home with this DVD, right? It's I don't care where I am. I can be anywhere in the world, really, to be honest with you. And it's just these, being on this track, I've learned that I can make a difference, and so, yeah, I've got to just keep trekking on and just trying to bring that light to people, even if not everyone's willing to listen. There's a place for everyone to wake up to something on a new level, even if it's not 5G or chemtrails, even if it's just fluoridated toothpaste or not eating MSG or something, or it doesn't have to be. It's baby steps, It's just leading a horse to water and saying, "Oh wow, there's no planes in the sky today. That's funny, because yesterday I saw 20 planes zigzagging over my house." Or saying, "Wow, I can't read these ingredients. Maybe I should eat something where I can read the ingredients." You know what I mean? And just kind of leading by example. I don't know what else to do, really, but
I ask you that because a lot of my colleagues I've talked to, other show hosts, other guests, just in the past 2 weeks, they told me, they said, "Look, man," and they've confided in me, and I'm not even going to say their names, but they said, "Look, I'm really getting tired of talking about the bad guy." And it's just, I know that I have to. I know that I have to bring this out and talk about it and show this to people, but it's really getting to me. Number one, because it's messing me up as far as positive and negative energy goes. And number two, I don't feel like I'm getting out there. I don't feel like I'm being heard enough. And this wasn't I'm not talking about you. This was another person that's kind of doing the same thing that you are. And I got to thinking about that today when I knew that I was going to talk to you tonight, is just the kind of struggles that somebody like you goes through with this. Because we sit back and watch everything that you do. We watch the documentaries that you do. We watch the content that you do. And we go, "Wow, man, that's really revealing. This is like the best documentary on chemtrails I've ever seen." But I don't think that we consider just what we need to do afterwards to help you out. So if you could say something to my audience and that would help you, what would you encourage them to do to help you with this?
Well, I mean, I'm launching a clothing line so the next generation isn't sterilized and doesn't come into a toxic environment where they're raised with too much radiation, where they can't even, procreate or even live a healthy life. I could use a little help with or just take a look and share the GoFundMe.com/protection clothing. But really, just sharing Frankensteins around. It's you never know how much impact you can have on just waking someone up to these higher levels of truth, right? If you, okay, so it's a struggle for me, I'm trying to, I go through jobs, I bounce around having these conferences, I can't live a normal life. It's always, some sort of struggle, whether it's financial or I'm dealing with someone I thought was on my side and they turn out to be some sort of controlled opposition or just something. The more I get deeper into the activism and the more people that I influence, the more it's interesting. It gets really interesting. But then, and right when I think I'm going to hit rock bottom and I'm going to just throw in the towel, I meet someone in a coffee shop that's like, "Have you seen the movie Frankensteins?" We have a conversation and they drop the Frankensteins on me, and it changes my life. It's just there's definitely, I definitely believe that I'm on this this mission, right? This path, and anytime I get down in the dumps about it, I'm turned around by knowing that people are out there spreading the word of truth, just referring people to the movie Frankensteins and getting that to circle around, that energy keeps me going, man. That's all I really need, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, so I'm asking my community of void walkers right now. That's what we call ourselves. It's kind of cliche, but whatever. If you haven't seen it, do me a favor. If you love me at all, go watch it. Front to back. It's not a 3-hour documentary, but it's enough. It's very impactful. Very impactful. And I got to tell you, before the first time I saw it, I had people on my network, friends of mine, say, man, you got to watch it. Have you seen it yet? You got to watch it. Go watch it. Go watch it. So I finally watched it. And I don't think I blinked through the whole thing. Things just got really wide open for me. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm afraid of, that's getting censored, because a guy like you, I feel like we can trust in, because we know that you care about the truth. We know it's not propaganda. This isn't Alex Jones or Joe Rogan. This is a person that actually cares about the well-being of humanity. And we all need to get behind this more, man. And that's all there is to it. And I guess that's enough with the goo-goo touchy stuff. But y'all go watch it if you haven't seen it for me, please. And then the 5G thing. Is it as bad? This is a very simple question, but is it as bad as everybody is saying it is? Is it really like this stuff is going to kill us? Like it's going to cause early deaths and stuff? I know people that have EMF sickness and stuff or whatever, they get that, but is it as bad as the internet is talking about? And we know, let's just look at the internet as a propaganda machine, but is it going to be that bad, do you think?
I don't want to be negative, but it's like, if you don't embrace the truth and take these mitigation, techniques, like if you've got your house all wired up with all of the 5G technology, and you've got a smart fridge, and you've got a smart this and that, and you got a small cell tower out front of your house, it could impact you severely, you know? But if you're in the know and you turn your Wi-Fi off at night and you got an older model of a phone, or you just turn your phone on airplane mode at night, or you don't put it next to your head at least while you're in the bedroom, and maybe you've got a cell tower out front of your house, but you took the responsibility of learning about it a little bit, and all you had to do is paint this one wall with lead paint in your house, and all the major radiation's not coming into your house anymore because you knew what paint to get. And now you're cool, you know. It's like it's a layered question, but I think a lot of people might be blindsided, and I hate to say that, but I think a lot of people might be blindsided. I think that like towers being put on top of homes and stuff. It's the thing about 5G is it's all about the details, and what it is it's proximity to it, proximity to the stations that's putting off, like proximity to the cell tower, and cumulative exposure. That's it. It's like how much time and how much proximity. So if you're sitting underneath a cell tower for 10 minutes and then you walk away, you're cool. But if you're sitting underneath a cell tower every day, all the time, you know, that cumulative damage, it builds up. It's just like going to Chernobyl or something. Like there's radiation, but it's not that bad. If you're living there, you're there all the time. It's about proximity and cumulative exposure. So if you're always around it, it's going to cause some damage, and a lot of people might be all around it all the time because they're not informed and they don't know, and they don't, you know, they might be blindsided. I hate to say it, but no, it's always more fear than it's worth. That's why I think satellites and all this stuff and everything, I think it's always, it always gets spun into more fear than hope, you know? And that's why I'm starting this clothing line, and I'm actually calling it Hope, but in Latin, which is Spero, S-P-E-R-O. That's the name of the company. And it's armor, and it will protect, and it will actually save some lives. And is it fear? No, it's truth, and truth is a higher vibration. You know, it's way higher than fear, but it's about taking the truth into your own hands. And you know, I mean, it's just like it's like, is fast food going to kill everybody? Well, it's going to kill some people, but, you know, yeah, it's like, did you eat it every day all the time? Well, you might get a heart attack, you know, and die early and get, you know, adverse impacts from it. But it's just like anything. It's like we live in a crazy beast of a world of duality, and I think that, like, some people will get sick, and that'll result in them coming up with safety standards, and it'll all work itself out, you know. But we do need to honor the truth and speak up and talk to and bring that awareness, because it is invisible, you know, and the cumulative effects won't be seen for some time, or realized for some time. You know, they may be seen in less time than they've actually realized, but they will be eventually realized, I do believe. But bringing this awareness to your town council and bringing the independent studies to your city council, your council board of supervisors, and playing that part, and not just saying someone else will do it, but actually being an actual activist. You know, I encourage people to step up and be that local person that does bring that truth forward, because once you're handed that torch of truth, you have that responsibility to bring it forward, because you're surrounded by people that are in the dark. You know, be that light so they can find their way out of the dark, is what I say, instead of, you know, thinking that everything's fear-based and there's nothing that you can do. No, there's a lot that we can do. That's the thing.
Yeah, we got to get out of this slave mentality thing, man. We really do. And let's just say let's say in reality, Matt, that there was actually, and I'm just making this up, let's just say that there was nothing that we can do, and that we were in this place that was killing us or whatever. Would you, if that was the reality, would you still not fight? Would you still just lay down? I mean, and I remember the time I was watching it, and you said, you know, I don't know if it was on Frankenskies or a YouTube video. I think it was on Frankenskies, where you said, you know, there was a time when people used to stand up for something and do things, and you're kind of worried that time is slipping. And it's like we're locked in front of these computer screens right now. And that's one of the reasons why I love radio. I don't mention this a lot, but you can listen to radio and do things. You know, it's not like you're stuck there. But anyways, we don't do anything anymore about stuff. We talk and fight about it on the internet, especially when it comes to politics. And we just don't do anything. And I think the name Actual Activist, just the website name, means something. So I totally agree with you on that, Matt, that we need to go back to where we used to be. A long time ago, Americans, we used to do stuff. Hell, we used to die for stuff that we believed in. I don't know if we're that kind of people anymore. I'd like to think that we were.
Definitely not all of us. Definitely not all of us, you know, and the propaganda machine has worked its magic, and we've got now this materialistic society that has a device in our palm that's pulsing at a rate that puts us in a hypnotic state, and it impacts our entire physiology, neurological system, biological system, and we've been hypnotized, you know, and coerced to believe things that are falsehoods. And the truth is now treason in an empire of lies, and we're ridiculed by our peers into thinking things that we shouldn't, and yeah, it's hard, but there are some people that do align with their ancestors who died for their freedoms. You know, our bloodline, it's in our DNA, and not everyone's going to just sit down and say, I want faster download speeds, even if it does kill my neighbor. You know, there's people that are going to wake up. There's people that are going to wake up, and it might be a harsh reality. It might be because they are impacted, or their friend or family is impacted, and they just wake up that way or something like that. But I do believe that everything is duality, and the tides have to turn. You know, it can't all just be brainwashed, you know, yeah, let's get virtual reality goggles and ignore, you know, literal horse blinders and ignore, you know, the world around us. I think there should be a backlash. There will be people that want to stay human and not get chipped and not dive completely into technology. I think there are people out there already that are realizing that maybe materialism and technology isn't going to be our savior, and maybe humanity can thrive and get back to the basics, and get grounded and be in touch with Earth and know the truth and not have to control and manipulate everything with chemicals and technology. But ultimately, I think that things might have to get a little worse. I think that the more the darkness reveals itself, the more that we can realize that, well, we're not them. These people that can't put themselves in the shoes of sociopaths because they're good, and those people are actually pretty bad. So realizing that there's good and bad, then realizing that you're good, and realizing that there's a lot of bad trying to manipulate these people who are just being blindsided because they're naive and they're really good, come into these realizations, to really awaken to the real world that we live in. That can be hard to do, and it might take some harsh realities. How bad do things need to get? I don't know. For the tides to turn, I don't know. But are we at the 100th monkey? Not quite yet, but I think we're getting there. A lot of people are approaching me with complete epiphanies, and it's a lot easier for people to believe in these harsh realities for some reason now more than ever. I think it's because that's just the world that we live in. It's just like, oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, look at our president kind of thing that, people say. I mean, I don't want to get political or anything like that. I'm just saying, the world is in such drama that anything could be reality now, and people are willing to accept, yeah, they poisoned us, and they're going to do it, and we actually need to say something now, and not just lie down. I do think that people will step up to become activists more now than ever, just because of the way that things are going. We have no choice.
Well, I think as long as we have people like you doing this kind of work, we'll keep this up. And there are others too, but you did make big waves in the chemtrail world, man. I mean, there are a lot of people that I talk to about that when it comes to chemtrails, that they use your documentary for reference. So that's a pretty big thing. Even if, forget Facebook, YouTube, and it's like, man, you're going to go down as that guy that if somebody ever comes across him, he says, man, I don't know about this chemtrail stuff. The first thing people say is, dude, you need to watch Frankenskies. It's the go-to now. So you should be proud of that part of it. You really did some good work there, man.
No, I appreciate that. And I just want it to be a tool for people to feel inspired and empowered to pass the truth forward. I've been getting it, and believe it or not, there are still video stores. I've been getting it in video stores. It's on the shelf for people to rent. I donated it to video stores that still exist. If you have a video store in your town and you want Frankenskies I'll donate it. Just contact me. You can email me, frankenskies@gmail.com. Also, I've been putting it into libraries. I've got it in roughly 30 libraries across the United States. I'm really excited about that. Just a physical DVD, I just want to be able to, get that truth into people's hands so that they can pass it forward, so that, the truth survives. I see the digitization of everything with censorship and this AI beast that eventually we won't even know up from down and left from right with the degree of control and the misrepresentation of falsehood as truth.
Yeah. Amen to that, man. You're right. You're so right about that. And look, I don't want to hold you up any longer. I know it's late night here. Matt, thank you so much for coming on Lighting the Void. Real quick though, can you tell everybody where to find you on social media, your websites, plug away, just in case I missed anything?
Well, I do want to touch upon one thing really quick with people.
Sure.
If they're if they haven't seen the film, or if they're questioning chemtrails, geoengineering, and what's going on. There's been programs that have been ongoing for quite some time, and they like to confuse people by giving them a bunch of different names, but they all do the same thing. They spray aerosols with planes in your sky, whether they're experimenting with weather modification, doing biological warfare, biological experimentation, chemical warfare, or seeding clouds, or experimenting with dimming the sun, whatever it may be. They're spraying aerosols in your sky without your consent, and they're polluting your ground, drinking water. They're polluting the water. They're polluting the soil. They're polluting the air, right? And we have the choice to drink differently, to eat differently, to act differently, to not get vaccinated, or all these different choices we have in our lives, but we don't have a choice with the air that we breathe. I feel this is an opportunity for people to get unified on one page. You know, we're humans that just want to have clean air to breathe. So if you want to do some research and find out about all the different programs that do spray, take a look at the Department of Energy's Tropospheric Aerosol Program, TAP. Take a look at NASA, who has a budget of $50 million a day. Take a look at their CARE program, C-A-R-E, the Charged Aerosol Release Experiment. Take a look at another program called Solar Radiation Management. There's also Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative, SRM and SRMGI. Take a look at the CIA refers to it as Stratospheric Aerosol Injection, the SAI program. So also we've got the climate engineering for, there's one last one that I can't come up with off the top of my head, but there's more. So take a look, do some research, take a look at actualactivistplural.com. That's one of my websites. My other website, frankenskiesthemovie.com, where the movie's on there through Vimeo for free. But it's also online on YouTube with much more hits than Vimeo. And a lot of people have put it up on their site. I've seen it up there with even 1 million views, and then the channel's been removed. So Frankenskies has been seen by millions of people, but I judge roughly 3 million. But yeah, just keep the word going around, Frankenskies, and take a look at the sky. There's irregular patterns, abnormal patterns of appearance of persistent linear cirrus clouds over your town. There's lines on some days, and then on other days there's no air traffic. Okay? Take a look at the air traffic, not just the clouds, all right? Because some days there's nothing going on, and how does that make any sense? Because the next week on that same time, that same day, you've got a grid pattern over your house. Please follow me or friend me. Contact me on Facebook, Matt Landman, and on YouTube, Matt Landman, and on Twitter, Matt Landman. And, yeah, like I said, if you want to email me, contact me. I'm always open to chat or see your pictures of your harp-rippled sky or your chemtrail sky or any questions. And check out your local current ongoing media normalization of geoengineering as a solution to permanently whiten our skies to save us from a hoax, which is global warming. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a real pleasure having you on. And I look forward to your next movie that comes out, man. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And once we get closer, I'd love to come back on the show and explain exactly, where I went with it. Because it's got to get into the history of frequency and explain how we got to where we are and where we're going, which is actually really important.
Right on. Thanks for coming on again. You guys go check out the website, frankenskiesthemovie.com, actualactivist.com. Go support the clothing line. We will put all the links into the show notes. Guys, we're going to continue on the subject. We'll be right back after these short messages.
portion of the show is being brought to you by the planet Earth. According to an independent study, when looking for a nice place to live, more people choose Earth than any other planet in our solar system. And remember, Earth is conveniently located near hundreds of schools and shopping malls. The planet Earth. Why go anywhere else?
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTOK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
All right, everyone, this is Justin from the UK. Excuse the chitty. If you're into the Fringe and you want to hear the brass tacks, me old china plate, Joe Roop and his guests on Light in the Void will open your mince pies. You need to shut your north and south and use your 10-speed gears and listen to them bubble. You could hear a Barry Crocker, no Brussels, but he ain't no holy friar. Anyway, you beat a Barnaby Rudge and take a butcher's.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Your home has needs. It needs a healthy, dry environment all year round. Start by getting rid of the worst air in the basement and crawl space, where the problems begin and make the whole house sick. Introducing the new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. It has advanced technologies to continuously reduce moisture, mold, and odors, and expel radon, gases, and pollutants. And now, Wave units include carbon monoxide detection to automatically expel air at a high rate and send you an alert. It also has an app so you can remotely monitor the conditions. Wave is a comprehensive, maintenance-free, affordable solution that will transform your entire home. Protect your home and family with what it needs. Give it a new Smart Wave Ventilation Unit. For more information, call 888-717-WAVE. That's 888-717-WAVE. Or go to dryhealthyhome.com. That's dryhealthyhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM. The Fringe FM loves hearing from you. Have a suggestion, comment, or question? We're all ears. Email talkback@thefringe.fm. Want to know what's on The Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Ed's Genetic Engineering Laboratories and Discount Warehouse, bringing you a brighter and more exciting tomorrow through hideous biological mutation. This week only, stop by Ed's and save 50% on his selected supply of slightly used chromosomes.
There is no question in our mind that chemtrails is real anymore. There's no doubt about it. So whatever we can do to help the cause to fix this situation, folks, we need to do it because it's a pretty scary situation. And if you haven't, I mean, I might sound crazy to you if you haven't seen that documentary, but once you see it, you'll know that all of the information in there can be backed up and it's legit and it's real. And you guys go do what you can to support Matt. It was really cool having him on the show. Didn't really get to talk about the 5G as much stuff as I'd like, and I think it's because I tend to focus on stuff that scares me the most, when it comes to these types of conversations. And right now, the spraying in the sky scares me the most, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people are focused on the 5G, even though it's probably going to be an issue, but I don't know. I had to bring our partner and scientist on here, Eric. Eric, welcome. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Glad to be on. Always a pleasure.
What do you think? Have you looked up this 5G stuff at all? Have you been looking into it?
Yeah, and so far I haven't found anything. It seems to me that it's like everything else. When it's new, they're going to vilify it or attach some more significance to it than it deserves. And I'm kind of thinking that's the way it is.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I don't want to give people the idea that we're living in a Fallout. Like, I don't know if you guys have actually played that game Fallout, but when it comes to the sky, just the sky, it's pretty damn close. I got to tell you. And when you really dig into this, today I've been digging into this whole thing a lot all day, and when I've had time, every extra minute. And man, they're talking about putting sulfur in our skies. Man, they're not just all the stuff that they've been doing, but they're actually about to gear up and do other chemicals that just don't belong up there, man. And the idea that we've got companies and industrial complexes and all the stuff like controlling the weather, that doesn't sit well with me. It shouldn't sit well with anybody. And it ought to tell you what they're willing to do, and that some of these, what you call conspiracy theories that are way out there, some of the stuff is real. And you need to look into it. I was one of those people, Eric. I promise you. I don't know if you remember. It wasn't too long ago. It was a few years ago, actually, where when people talked about chemtrails, I was like, man, that's just regular contrails or weather manipulation. You guys are blowing this out of proportion. The truth was I didn't really want to take a look at it because I was afraid it might be real. That's the God's honest truth. And when you look at it and you find out it is real, you feel a little bit powerless at first because you're thinking, my God. They're not only doing this, but they're doing it on a mass scale. What can little old me do about it? And there are things that you can do about it. You can talk about it to people. You can show people the documentaries. You can go to your council. You can even go to your communities. I mean, we have local meetings here. You can do all kinds of stuff. And maybe we can act as a people again instead of fighting amongst each other like we always do and get something done. I don't care about, I know everybody's talking about the Joe Rogan, Alex Jones stuff. I don't care about that, man. That's just a distraction. It really is. Like, who's the real CIA agent? Who cares, man? I mean, if you're following these guys for every little bit of truth, if you're following anybody for every little bit of truth other than yourself, you've got an issue. Don't you think, Markham? It's a big issue, man. You need to rely on yourself more.
Yeah. Don't rely on, like we used to say on a old program I used to be a co-host on, do your own research. Don't take our word for it because, we'd come up with some pretty crazy topics.
I'm even
chemtrails, I'm like you. I was sort of a skeptic on the chemtrail thing, and now the more I look into it, the more I think there might be something to it.
Yeah.
The whole idea that they're going to start putting sulfur in the air.
That's pretty crazy.
Kind of upset me. Well, I think of the billions that have been spent in this country on, coal-fired power plants to scrub the sulfur out of. There's in Cumberland City, Tennessee. I used to live right across from the Cumberland City power plant. I think it was the largest coal-powered power station in the country. And any given day, you can see there's yellow smoke, sulfur-rich smoke coming out of that smokestack, and it stretches halfway across the state. You can see it.
Is your phone battery dying, Eric? Because you're breaking up a little bit.
No. That's weird because, let me see, signal.
Your signal's good and strong?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know, it was not too long ago I did a show on these laser experiments they were doing. It was one of the first times that it freaked me out about. It just freaks me out, man, what these scientists they get away with. And I know you're a scientist, Eric, and I'm not trying to offend you or anything. I know you do it for a living, okay? I know that you're involved in it, but the government-funded things that these guys do, it seems like to me that there's no oversight, and that we are really just kind of like rats in a cage when it comes to their experiments. And I wished before the show, I wish I could have pulled up that laser experiment they were doing, but the stuff that happens with CERN, the stuff that happens with chemtrails, even the global warming thing, right? Think about this for a second, guys. Just think about how much money these people are getting. I know this is simple, but really think about it. We're talking about millions, even billions of dollars for certain sects of this stuff. Now, the only way that they can get their money is if they continue their propaganda. For example, global warming, right? You know how many scientists they had studying all this stuff, and they had a lot of these scientists that were doing experiments. They have to keep the narrative going so they can keep the money, or they'll be out of a job.
Oh, yeah. Publish or perish.
I mean, what are they supposed to say? Are they supposed to go to our government or tell the people, like, look, you know, global warming is really, there's really nothing going on? Then they lose their jobs, they lose their funding, and they lose all this stuff. So again and again and again, all of these things that we think that are being caused by dark cabals and reptilians, and I'm not saying it's not, but we just pass up greed and money, and we think that that's not powerful enough to create this kind of evil. But I'm telling you that it is. These people don't care about you. I know you'd like to think that they do. A long time ago, when we fought for our country, we fought together, and then we voted people in office, and we had our own government, and we set up this country. It was great, right? Everything was kind of great, and then it slid to the time Kennedy got shot, and then in my opinion, after that happened, everything went to hell. Ever since that shot was fired, we have lost anything that has to do with being free and being able to do something as a people, because they control everything. They control the media. It's kind of obvious now. I mean, there's only like 6 companies that control everything that we hear and see when it comes to the news and broadcasting, unless you're listening to a show like this or other internet shows. And even then, I would say, depending on how big the show is, they still get messed with. So we're in a weird kind of storm here. Like, we're in a storm when it comes to money and greed, mad scientists. You just take those two, and it's a deadly combination. That David Keith dude, if you guys watch that documentary, that guy freaks me the hell out. I wish I'd have pulled some sound clips and listened to this guy talk about justifying what he does, and it's scary. This dude don't care about nobody's death, or maybe just killing people don't bother him because it's science, you know? The science is what matters. You ever run into anybody like that when you were studying to get these degrees? Just people that just don't, they're willing to kill in the name of science, it seems.
Only one job when I was at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, the clinic laboratory. We also did lab work for some of the research doctors. And, yeah, it was a lot of rats getting sacrificed, a lot of, you know, it's just the whole casual thing about, oh, we're done with this animal, do it in. It's one of the things about science that turns my stomach.
You know, imagine if I was you. Let's do this on a humane level. Imagine if you were one of these people that ran one of these organizations, and I came to you and I was some government spook, okay? And I said, look, I want you to run this experiment. I want you to put these in these jets or weather balloons. I want you to dump this stuff in the sky. And your first question to me would be, well, is anybody going to get hurt? And I say, well, you know, that's kind of here nor there. A few hundred, maybe a few thousand. But overall, it's going to help us in the long run. It's going to save millions of lives. And we're willing to pay you. We're willing to fund you multi-millions of dollars. In other words, I'm going to cut you a check for, let's say, $5 million, which is small potatoes for some of these projects. Now, you tell me, just as a human, if you could actually imagine that being real in your life, would you do it? You see, you're even thinking about it, right? And it's not because you're a bad person, right? I don't think you're a bad person. I'm just trying to explain how powerful money really is. It might actually be that dark overlord that you're thinking is controlling the earth.
I don't know. I think if it was an unethical study, or my price tag for that would be beyond what they could pay. It's just, there's ethical studies, and then there's things like what Vanderbilt did back in the way back when they were doing, they were exposing the civilian population in the Nashville area to radiation, to do a study on how that affects the public. Public didn't know. It came out back in 94, 95, just before I was working there. It was something that they, they're one of the biggest employers in that part of Tennessee, and they kind of own the local newspaper. If they tell the Tennessean to shut it up, it gets shut up, and that's that's what happened. No, I think if they gave me an ethical qualms and I had to stop and think about it, I probably wouldn't take the money.
But you do know how tempting it would be. Let's be honest with each other. Right?
Yeah. I mean, money. A lot of people equate money with things. I equate money with freedom, and freedom would be nice.
So what do you think? I mean, exactly? That's a very good point. We all believe that, right? We all can say money doesn't buy happiness, but no one's ever dropped $1 million in your lap. Have you ever had it sitting in your lap like $1 million in your hand? I think you would think a little bit different. Let's just be honest, right? You'd be like, this could be a different kind of life.
Yeah.
Well, millions of dollars. Let's think about the power of this. Millions of dollars. $1 million, a few $1 million is nothing compared to what these people get for this stuff, man. It's nothing compared. I mean, we can go back to the military-industrial complex and look at the oil contractors. Billions of dollars now and in the future. What do you think they're willing to do for that? I've changed my whole outlook on government. I really have. There wasn't too long ago where and you guys have even heard it if you've been listening to the show, where I said, I'm not a total anti-government person. I would like to believe that a government can exist, that democracy could exist, and that we could really do this stuff and be this great country. I would love to believe in that. But I don't think it exists anymore.
No.
It's over.
I don't. Well, your government, I mean, there's not a nickel's worth of difference between the two parties. It's just whose kickbacks and whose special influence is in power, not really anything to do with a particular party. I mean, it comes down, you hear about these human caravans, and it turns out there's a force behind them.
Yeah, there always is, for sure.
It's not just that these people want to migrate. They're being, this is being set up. So follow the money, and it usually leads back to, people like Bezos or Soros. That there's multi-billionaires that, that I guess that's how they entertain themselves, is, using their money for social experimentation.
I got an email the other day that they said they admired what I was doing, the sacrifices I've made, even though not having to work a 9-to-5 job, and they'd like to tell me how to podcast and all this other stuff. And I said, look, I work every single day from the time I'm up to the time I go to bed, if it's not editing audio and all this other stuff, and I make tiddlywinks, right? So that the advertisement pretty much gets the station moving. Everything else is only done by support or the services that I provide in production for people. Now, people think I'm living a free life. What happens when I get that property tax check? Think about that. You can't pay your property taxes. Well, you can't drive. Now do I have to continue on this story? How free are you really? You're not. It's over, man. It's
even when you pay for something, you pay for a car or you pay for your house, you really still don't own it because the government's got their claws into it. It's like pay this property tax or we take it. Where's the
dude?
You lease everything you own. You lease from the state as far as real property.
I know probably at least 1/8 of the people listening right now have said, yeah, my tags are expired, but I think I'm just going to run up to the store looking over their shoulder while they're driving down the road because they hadn't paid that fee yet so they can drive. Right. You guys know what I'm talking about. They'll take the back road, so maybe I won't get a cop on me. Well,
right.
I mean, it's
drive the speed limit.
Yeah. So the whole idea that our government won't do bad things to us really needs to go away because it's obvious now that they will. And not in the name of reptilians or dark overlords or archons, but in the name of money, the almighty dollar. I am not saying that reptilians don't exist, archons don't exist. God knows we've all met these shadow beings when we've explored consciousness and stuff, trying to figure out what they are. But we're not looking at enough in our own nature. We like to blame politicians and we blame everybody for our own stuff. And then after we get through blaming all of these things and people and entities on our enslavement, then we say, well, we're enslaved. I can't wait to get off the planet. And meanwhile, you got guys that are like certain scientists that are trying to do the right thing. You got guys like Matt out there fighting a good fight. It's got to be frustrating. I know you heard it in his voice. So all I'm saying is listening to the show, being a void walker and all that is great. We will be here every night. We'll talk about whatever. But at some point, we've got to start doing things. We've got to start being active in this fight. I feel like that's what I'm doing a little bit here tonight. And I don't talk about these things enough because I don't want to spread stuff that's not true. There's a lot of crazy conspiracies. For example, I'll tell you about a conspiracy that's being talked about right now that I haven't really looked into because it just sounded so nutty to me. That what they're doing is they're spraying metal in the sky. So they're taking have you heard this yet, Eric? They're taking the metals in the sky. So we have all of these metals in the sky, and then they're going to use the 5G networks, and they're going to control our minds and literally show us pictures and stuff that, control our consciousness that way, like that movie Bird Box. Have you heard that conspiracy?
Yeah, I heard that one before. I'm not sure how plausible it is. I don't think they have to go to all of that. But, look at the average kid, 20-something, who won't look up from their iPhone long enough to see that they're about to walk into you pushing a grocery cart. I've had that literally happen. I'll watch, I'll look, I'm not plugged into the phone. You know how the phones are. Mm-hmm. And I see, this idiot's going to walk right into me, and I'll just stop, brace myself, and let him walk into my grocery cart. And just like, I can't repeat what I usually tell them on the air because I'm kind of snotty. But, it's ridiculous. I don't think you got to go to all the expense of putting crap in the air. I think it's already done.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is right. These really crazy conspiracies that you're hearing about could just as well be another propaganda machine to get you off track. I didn't think that there were crisis actors. Well, I don't know if I would call them crisis actors, but there were movements to do those types of things. There's documentation to prove it. And this is something else I want to say too. For you people that listen to my show on YouTube, I'm glad that you listen to it on YouTube, but at some point I wouldn't really depend on it. Because all it takes is I may get my whole channel shut down tomorrow for saying crisis actors. There's videos that I put up sometimes And I don't know the whole truth about the crisis actor thing, so y'all don't hold me to that, but I'm looking into it. But
I do. Today, I researched that.
I had to fight for 4 hours to get Mary's video up, just so I can tell you about how these money grubbers are. If I've played a track from the public domain, a lot of this stuff I either have permission to play or I play from the public domain, and we're just talking bumper music here, okay? And 6 or 7 people will come out and claim the copyrights to a song. How can 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 different companies have the copyrights to a song? And the funny thing is, I asked that question. I dispute it. I have to file a dispute with them and say, look, I got this from the public domain. Here's the link. Here's the laws. And how can all of you have copyrights to this damn one track? It was from 1920 something. That's damn impossible. So there's a lot of money grubbing going on. And that's the only, and here's what they do. They threaten you. And they threaten you so they don't have to deal with your disputes, because when you dispute things, you make them have to work. So when you dispute a video, they'll say, well, if we find that your disputes are false, we can shut down your whole channel. So they scare the hell out of you so you don't dispute the stuff. And I'm not like that. So what I'm saying is if you're listening to the show and you're dependent upon YouTube, which doesn't make sense to me anyways, it's an audio show. You're actually using more bandwidth going to YouTube than you would if you just played it on a podcast player or something. I would just let it go, man. Just don't worry about it. I'll keep putting them up there, but if it goes down, it goes down. We'll always be on the Fringe FM. And if they take that away from us, damn it, we're going to be on the ham radio.
You got it.
That's what I think it's all coming to anyways. We're all going to be back down to ham radios and documents, because everything else is just going to get censored.
Well, I'm getting to the point where I'm so sick of Facebook that I'm about ready. I mean, I'm setting up another account somewhere else, and I'm giving it a trial run. And I can see the day very soon where I'm telling Facebook to kiss it. I'm gone.
I've got people that tell me, and they keep telling me this, that I guess they say it's shadow banning. It could be some type of weird algorithm, but I'll put up a flyer like I do for this show the day of. I try to do it the day of, and I'll put up a flyer for who's going to be on the show that night. And some people aren't getting it till 4 days, 5 days later. That's when they'll see it.
Yes, I saw one today before I left Dad's. And I thought, I looked at it and I said, well, crap, that was last week. So, yeah, it's true. They're showing up late.
What Ryan Gable has told me is they're shadow banning me. Like they say that he said they do it to him, too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it was our Thursday show. It doesn't matter what show it was, but I see it right away when you put it up, because I'm also part of the staff. So I see, in one way, I see what you put up right away. But on my news feed under Eric Markham, it might, that same post show up like it's brand new 3, 4, 5 days after the fact. So, yeah, when people tell you they're not seeing the stuff, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So there we go again. So I would tell you this, if you listen to the show live, listen on the Fringe FM. I even know like Spreaker has censored some shows. I know they censored Alex Jones shows today. It looks like Dennis said that, they tried to put Alex up on 22 new sites today. They love banning that guy. As soon as he goes up on something, he's out. And, it is kind of entertaining to watch him and Joe Rogan, pull each other's throats out on this stuff. But you don't know. You can't trust their information. And this is the thing, if somebody is really influential, like when they get to the point to where millions of people are following them, it's not that I think that they're shills or government shills or anything like that. It's just like at that point, I don't trust the information anymore, because I don't know, it could very well easily be screwed up. when I get on these news articles that people look up, like I got news guys that pull up articles, and you don't know half the time if it's just propaganda. You don't know anymore. You can't even go to the Drudge Report anymore to find good stuff. So it's like, what do? So the only thing that we can do is storytell and talk about our experiences and have certain guests on here to try to get the truth across, and hope that people like Facebook and YouTube and podcast directories and other stuff like that don't ban us. But eventually we're going to have to get all hammed up and go back to paper and pen and fax machines again, I think. That's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
But,
well, I try and do I've been trying to set up a little news thing, and I tell you what, and I found this when I worked with another on-air personality, finding credible, multiple source, true stories on the fringe, on these fringe topics. It's a full-time job, because you got some, fungus-covered lard ass sitting in his grandma's basement typing out on a blog, and this stuff looks authoritarian. It looks like legit stuff, and when you push a little further, you find out it's just made up crap by some kid that when he's not doing his World of Warcraft, he's doing a blog about cryptozoology or something.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's hard to find legitimate, real stuff.
I promise you guys that even the shows I put on, all of the shows we put on here, we put on for good reason too. Crow 777 does pretty good on this network, but he does pretty good on this podcast. He also does a live show on Truth Frequency too, but I put him on here because of the message and research this guy does. Same thing with Ryan. So we're far from a propaganda machine. In fact, that's why we like the word fringe, because we like being out there. We like folks saying, man, you're out there on the fringes. Well, yeah, it's safer out here.
That's where we want to be.
It's easier to find the truth out here than it is in your propaganda machine. That's for damn sure. But
I might not have thought so when I was growing up, but whenever a fad would come along and I would try to jump on it, my parents both, my dad in particular, he would not allow me to follow the crowd. And at that time, I thought he was being cruel or being, just being a butthole because he didn't want me to be with the cool kids. But, that has served me so well in my later life that I just don't follow or fall for a lot of the same crap. I got people I know that I'm friends with that will spout something they heard on the news, and when you ask them, I said, well, what's your source? Mm-hmm. And it's like, they look at you funny. It's like, source, it's almost like it's white noise full of bull crap, and they're picking up the white noise, and they're convinced that what they're saying is true, and I have no doubt that they believe what they're saying is true, but the simple matter is, there's really no facts behind it. It's just something that's been spewed forth, and people just pick it up and run with it. And I see more of that now than I did growing up. Used to be people were kind of skeptical, and we trusted our newscasters. Walter Cronkite. I grew up in the era where you had Walter Cronkite, Roger Mudd. You had these journalists that you looked up for. It's like they could tell you that it was raining pink elephants outside, and their credibility was such that, you give them 90% benefit of the doubt that there were pink elephants raining. And I just, we went from that, and that got subverted, that trust in our media people. And then it came out to where instead of just reading the news or telling you what the facts were, they were generating the facts. And discernment kind of went out the window. And now we live in this culture where if, Wolf Blitzer says it must be true type of thing.
Well, I can tell you right now, I may not be the most articulate and well-sounded person on the airwaves, but I will never sell out. I will always be authentic with you, even if I'm stumbling over what I'm trying to say. I think most of you know that by now. I hang around most of the people like that. I try to stay in those types of circles, but you never know. There is always that troll factor. But I think that the main thing that I'm worried about, Eric, is like tonight, and the reason why we talk a lot about consciousness exploration and the esoteric and things like that is because I want to empower people's minds so that they can see, but also so they can find out who they are in bigger and better ways. And sometimes I think, man, when you look at this stuff, the chemtrails, the 5G, the propaganda, the government control, all of this stuff. And when you start looking at it, man, it gets daunting. And the last thing I want to do is depress my audience. But at the same time, it's one of those things that you just get. It's like talking to your kid. Got it. We have to have this conversation.
Right.
We got to. And so
not only are we entertainment, but we attempt at the Fringe to be information. True information. I mean, it would be so much easier for Joe and I to come on and just lay out a line of unsubstantiated bullcrap, but we don't do that. You know, you hear me stumble over a question sometimes because I'm trying to be truthful about something, but I really don't know. So, you know, the most honest thing I can do is say, well, I heard a little bit about it, but to be honest, I really don't know. And you'll hear that from me and from Joe. We want the facts. We just don't want to throw a bunch of BS out there and hope it sticks.
Well, what I do know is that does relate to some people. It relates to people, you know, like all of you in the Spreaker chat, all of you guys in the Fringe FM chat. It relates to people like Greg. I won't say your last names, but people that are supporting, you know, like you, Eric. Like Joseph, a fellow named James, a woman named Barbara, a fellow named Roger, another guy named Tyler, another person named Randolph, the Spiral C Tarot, Mary, Travis, Olson, Justin, Gail. I can keep going. Janine, Christian, Courtney, Larry. So there are people out there that they're finding something of value here. And I just want to be level with you guys, man. That's all I want to do. I want to be level with you about it. And then when I have somebody on like Matt, you know, it may not be the greatest information in the world, but it's something that you need to hear. And when I'm telling you that these scientists scare me, Eric, I believe with my whole heart that, and please don't take this the wrong way, brother, but the scientists now are the priest class of today. Like everybody's looking at these scientists now as the ultimate truth machines. And if you really look into things, especially like geoengineering and stuff, that ought to tell you that they get influenced by money. And there are doing experiments that there's no oversight for. They're quite dangerous.
Right.
What are we going to do?
There's one that'll sicken you. There was a guy, and this is old news, but I mean, this kind of stuff still goes on. The guy was working under a government grant, getting thousands and thousands a year, and what he was doing is using hydraulic presses to crush monkey heads.
Oh my God!
And had been doing it for years under the auspices of studying head trauma. I mean, how many years do you have to mash monkey heads to realize that pressure cracks the skull? And that was basically all his research said. If you this much, this many PSI.
Well, that makes me sick, dude. How long ago? Was this when you were in school?
I think it got exposed back in the 90s. I'm kind of fuzzy on the when. I just remember the fact that I thought, how many thousands and thousands, I think it was hundreds of thousands of dollars this guy got, and he just had this grubby little lab under a building somewhere, and that's all he did all day was buy monkeys and crush their heads in a hydraulic press. he had this thing set up, and it was like the monkey would be in this table with its head sticking above, and these two clappers would come up on either side. And it's like, this guy, you know, you and me and the other taxpayers in America were funding this guy's sick crap. And that's just one that got exposed. You know, there's all kind of weird stuff. You know, like studies on will monkeys get hooked on cocaine? Well, hell yeah, they'll get. You know, any mammal that's got the receptors for something like.
How big a checks do they get?
Money's
stuff?
Being spent.
How big a checks do they get for stuff like that?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars and up. Research grants, I tell you what, that's bread and butter. If you can come up with something plausible and get funding for it, I mean, they toss some money at it. And then you got a guy out west, that professor, got blown out of proportion. We've actually tried to get him on. He was entertaining the idea that perhaps there is such a thing as soft spots, and he was like a very minimal, like $5,000 to do take a field, you know, a field team out to an area where there had been a sighting. And you would think that that guy was taking money out of babies' mouth, $5,000.
That's terrible.
Is all he wanted. Yeah, and he got blown out of proportion. But at the same time, you got in a neighboring university, probably even in the same university, the guy's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars to discover if cheetahs can run fast.
What the hell?
Yeah. And $5,000 is nothing if if you're talking food, funding a small field operation like that. $5,000 is crap, and it was out of a fund that, it wasn't coming out of anybody's. Nobody was going hungry, nobody was going uneducated because this guy used that $5,000 in that fund.
We love our science.
You would think yeah, that would have probably been a good study. You had a scientist, an honest to God scientist, who was going to study something without any particular, belief in place. It would have probably, it would have been nice to see.
I got to tell you, if I ever walked into a lab and I found a scientist like crushing monkey heads or something, man, I'd have to punch the sumbitch in the head. I don't think I'd be able to handle that. Anyways, this is our last break of the night. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. We're here with Eric Markham. We just got through talking to Matt Landman. Tomorrow night, Jason Lindgren, The Secrets of Saturn, is going to be on. Jason Lindgren, also from Crow 777 Radio, is going to be on the show tomorrow night. So be sure you come and hang out with us. Be right back.
This is why I never run, because I got spurs that jingle. I got spurs that jingle.
Portion of the show is being brought to you by Geritol Bismol, the only antacid available for persons suffering from iron-poor gas.
This is Al. I listen to Lighting the Void because it's interactive radio with good content, interesting guests, and a humble host, sharing his journey through the esoteric. Hey, Joe Roop. Thanks for having us along for the ride.
Thank you so much for a delightful evening.
Well, I got a lot of ground to cover.
From Studio 303, it's the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on The Fringe FM, bringing light to the stories that surround us. Lasers could be able to beam messages directly into a listener's ear, like whispering a secret from afar, according to U.S. scientists. The laser interacts with water vapor in the air as scientists created sounds in a localized spot that were loud enough to be picked up by human hearing if aimed near the listener's ear. This is the first time this technique has been used safely around humans. It is hoped that the directed sounds could one day be used for headphone-free TV watching
without disturbing others. Or they could warn people of danger discreetly in situations like an active shooter attack. The lasers will not cause burns to the eyes or skin due to the fact that the scientists finding the exact wavelength that allows it to be risk-free. Researchers tested out the setup on themselves in a laboratory, putting their ears near the beam to pick up the sound. Physicist Charles Wynn said, "You move your head around and there's a couple-inch zone where, well, there you go. It's pretty cool." Source, The Sun UK. And Pennsylvania birdwatchers spot a stunning rare cardinal with both male and female traits that split right down the middle of its body. What is known as bilateral gynandromorph with male and female traits, well, this happens when female eggs with 2 nuclei is double fertilized by 2 sperm. The amazing male-female chimera was spotted in a Pennsylvania backyard. Male cardinals have a bright red coloring, while females have a much duller appearance. Source, Daily Mail Online. And lungworm blood. It's coming to a pharmacy near you. After years of research and clinical trials, a French startup, Hemarina, is almost ready to start selling worm blood for organ transplants. The hemoglobin of the Arenicola marina is a highly effective oxygen carrier, a property that has lent itself to exploration by the biomedical industry. Source, Hockey Eye Magazine. And 2 motorists in Kansas encounter a Bigfoot. One of the 2 sisters claims that they were driving on Interstate 24 when they spotted the being. Quote, "Around 9:35 p.m., I was telling my sister, who was driving, to be careful about deer running across the road because we had seen a few. Some didn't even look at the truck that we were in. Most were focused on the cornfield," she told the BFRO about the August 2017 alleged encounter in Mitchell County. Suddenly, she says, a big buff gorilla-looking man hopped out on all 4s out of the cornfield. It jumped from the cornfield to my left, in front of me, and onto the left side of the road. It stood up and then disappeared into the cornfield on the other side of the highway. My sister wanted to stop, but I asked her to continue driving. The woman described it as 8 feet tall with an ape-like body. Its hair was reportedly about 3 inches long, with some bald areas on the chest and face. You could see the muscles. The hair was dark, kind of reddish. Source, cryptozoologynews.com. And time for this edition's fun fact. The name Australia contains 3-letter A's. Each one of them is pronounced differently. And that wraps it up for another edition of the Stranger Than Fiction News right here on the Fringe FM. I'm Vance Nesbitt, anchor and news sorcerer.
What's up? This is James Cruz. You listen to KCLK The Fringe FM.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Listen, I really appreciate you guys staying up late with us here every night. It does mean the world to me. But if you're like me and you're probably going to be like a vampire, and you're probably going to be up until the sun rises, and you want to head into the witching hour, it's about to be the witching hour for some of you already. The Secret Teachings with Brian Gable is one of the best shows to listen to. It comes on right after this show. The stuff will continue. From dawn to sunrise, we got live programming. That's something to say. But I am looking at some of this propaganda, and the propaganda is saying that our magnetic North Pole has actually shifted. This is something I think we talked about this last week or a few days ago. I forget.
Last Thursday?
Yeah, last Thursday. Right? Now everybody's supposedly talking about it, and the articles are everywhere and whatever. But they usually, just before people start, I don't want anybody to freak out about this, but they usually update the magnetic north every 5 years. So it's actually natural for them to update it. According to what I'm reading here, now this could be total BS, who knows? But what they're saying is on this Monday, the World Magnetic Model updated their official location of magnetic north. It's always updated every 5 years, but since the recent rapid movement of the magnetic north prompted scientists to update the model early, the priestcraft class, I say craft or class, they're telling us where magnetic north is. Yeah, I'm hoping I'll make you mad, Eric. You being a scientist and all. But
they piss me off too. So I understand.
Right. But what they're saying is that they had to update it earlier than the 5 year thing this time because it's sliding faster than normal. Now, if this is true, which they're updating this stuff, so I'm thinking it might be. But if this is true, Eric, from a scientific point of view, what in the hell? I mean, should we worry about it moving? Like I know you said last Thursday. You said if the poles are gonna switch, they need to do it fast. But what happens if they don't do it instantaneously? If these things slide kind of slowly?
Well, if they slide slowly, the thing is, the magnetosphere. The Earth's magnetosphere is what shields us from a lot of cosmic radiation, a lot of solar radiation. And when it moves, it weakens. They're not sure if it moves because it's weakening or it weakens and that causes, they're not sure which is cause and effect here. But when it weakens, it allows more radiation through. So you are better off if it flips overnight, if it flips quickly. Because then your field strength comes back up. They call it meandering, and if it takes it a long time to flip, that weak field, we're being subjected to more cosmic radiation, more solar radiation, because it's taking longer for the magnetic field to regain its, the proper strength. So we don't want it to drift slowly. We want it to just wake up. We just want to wake up one morning and our compass is pointing in the wrong direction.
I will cite this book again too. They also say in here, Eric, that geologists measure, minerals and rocks too, to also test the magnetic, I guess, the poles of things, right?
Right.
I would say that you guys really need to get this book. And I think I'm going to put it in the newsletter as my recommended reading for this month is Forgotten Civilization by Robert Schoch. I've brought it up a few times, but it's apparent to him that there was something like that happened. Now, he calls it a solar outburst, so it could be just a huge sunspot or something. But what I'm trying to figure out is if the poles did shift the way you're talking about, where we lost the protection of our magnetosphere, would it cause something like a catastrophic thing that Robert's talking about in his book? Because he says it's very evident that it happened. It's already happened once, in other words.
Well, we're due for another Carrington-level event. If people don't know, in the 1890s, there was a coronal mass ejection. There was a solar flare that hit Earth, and it caused telegraph wires to burn. Fortunately, we were low-tech enough at that era that it caused some minor disruptions in communications because, back then.
You're talking about in 1859?
Yeah, the Carrington. We're due for one of those.
Yeah, so the Carrington
event. It's going to be a completely different animal now because we have so much invested in electromagnetic communications.
Right. So just in case you guys don't know, the Carrington event, that's what you're talking about, right? The Carrington event, Robert writes about this in his book, by the way. but it happened on Thursday, September 1st, 1859. This guy, Richard C. Carrington, was observing and sketching an unusually large and dark group of sunspots at his observatory. He was an astronomer at Red Hill, and apparently he was an amateur, but they're saying he was an expert on the sun and had devoted his time and resources to unraveling its mysteries. But on that day at 11:18 a.m. local time, which was Greenwich time, he observed intense white flashes of light coming from two locations within the sunspot group he was drawing. And pretty intense stuff happened back then. And that was at 1859. Yeah. So if that happened now, what would we experience?
Oh, Lord. Well, if we have that happen now, communications, of course, it would probably destroy a good chunk of our, depending on when it happens and where the Earth's rotation is at the time, whatever satellites are facing that direction are probably going to be cooked. If you listen to David Adair, we're going to, that kind of event is going to cause our electrical grid to collapse because it's not hardened against that kind of thing. The voltage spikes would probably cause your local transformers to explode. They're full of oil, so you're going to have hot flaming oil all over the place. It could be apocalypse now type. It could be horrible.
Well, don't those transformers, mine blew up the other day, and it's got a fuse on the edge of it, right? Where it blows that fuse out, and it keeps it from damaging itself, supposedly. Mine's okay, I guess.
Well, I think the problem with with that kind of Carrington event is it doesn't matter. It would be kind of like trying to channel a lightning bolt through a 12-gauge copper wire.
Oh, hell.
It overwhelms, there's so much energy hitting these wires and hitting these transformers. It overwhelms the safeties. They're not hardened against that kind of power. It's like a direct lightning strike on your telephone pole or something. It's not going to, it's going to shoot right past any of the safeguards there are in place.
You guys really need to read this book. It's all about the role of solar outbursts in our past and future. And one of these nights, I'm hoping I'm going to get Dr. Robert Schock back on the show so we can really dig into the material and talk about it. And by the way, today was the anniversary of John Anthony West's death, so it wasn't too long ago he was on the show, and it's kind of funny that we had Matt Landman on the show. I'm not saying that they're the same type of people, but they are the same type of truth researchers where they're willing to stand up in front of a crowd and say whatever the hell is on their mind and not care about what the census thought. I mean, think John Anthony West wasn't afraid to say anything to anybody and didn't care about the backlash. What mattered to him was the truth about it all. And he had so many people come against him when he first started this stuff, and now it's like our go-to when it comes to Egyptology. So I just wanted to give a shout out to old Jaws and give him some remembrance there. Maybe one day we'll get to go on one of these tours with Schock. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Oh, wouldn't it? Yeah, John Anthony West, him and Robert Schock wasn't him and Schock the ones that said that, hey, look, there's water erosion at the Sphinx?
It was John Anthony West that went to Schock about it. And when we had him on the program, he did talk about how, he knew that that's exactly what it was, that it was water erosion, and that he did battle with himself just a little bit because he knew if he went out and told the world, especially the Egyptologists, that, hey, this was water erosion, that there was going to be some backlash. But I don't think anybody questions Robert Schock on that now. And if you do, well, you're just trying to hold on to a narrative that's gone. There's no hope for you.
Yeah.
But
well, I remember watching a documentary about that. John Anthony West found the evidence, but because he was a layman, he didn't have any letters behind his name. He thought, he was, pretty much, scoffed at. And then he brings Shock in on it. Shock's got the numbers behind his name and got the, he has the bona fides to say, yes, this is erosion. Yeah, so, John Anthony West discovered it, but he had to get somebody with some letters behind their names to help. And that's how science is supposed to be. It's devolved into this crappy religion, but all science is a tool. That's all it's ever meant to be. You look at something, you try and get other people to look at the same thing, and you try to experiment and get some conclusions.
Mm.
And it's become a pseudo-religion. And I've seen that, I realized that when I was getting trained into science back in the 90s. This isn't a new thing, but it's more of a, people hold up, well, he's a scientist. Well, he's a tool user. He's a monkey in a cave with a rock. That's all we are. We're building a torch, and we're trying to illuminate the darkness. The best scientists are.
But you really could just be explaining the least of things if you think about it, right? If you really, but that doesn't matter. At least you're doing something with it. By the way, because I know we only got a few minutes left. Last night I had Monday night we talked to Crow about dream exploration, right? We were talking about exploring dreams with people, like so we could all go on these journeys together, remember it, write notes, etc., etc. If you guys go back and listen to that, because we don't have a lot of time to get into it. I had a pretty interesting dream last night, man, and I journaled it, and I can't believe that I didn't talk about this already, but somebody came to me and asked me to make sure I would remember them, and it was a female. And I could just be making it up in my head, because you know how that happens. But
right.
Let's see. I got it journaled, and I have to look at it. Hold on just one second. Let me grab my journal here. What did I ask? Because I didn't forgot about what I asked her. Okay. So it was a female, and it had something to do with what you were wearing. If you are that person, I'm very interested in knowing about this. And if not, and if I don't hear from anybody, then hell, I know that my head just made it up, But we're doing the experiments. So maybe, just maybe, then we made contact with somebody. Damn, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Would be. Prove something like that. Well, I've had dreams like, I can't even tell you who the people were, other than we are friends. We've met before in the regular world, but their identities don't come out the same. I have a general idea of who they are. Or, it's almost like they are archetypes of people I know. And we have a blast. I woke up last week. I think it was last Thursday or last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Had a grin on my face because of the stuff these people, I thought I had done something pretty slick, and I turned around, this other person did something that topped what I had done. And it was, it was fun.
You're talking about characters that show up in your dreams that you know them. You know who they are, but they're not in your reality. Like, they're not here.
I'm not sure I think that they might be. There's somebody different in the dream, but I get the impression that it's somebody I know that, I'm, largely friends with. And then some of the people I know I'm friends with, but it's just like, it's a bunch of acquaintances, and it happens probably 2 or 3 times a year. It's like we all get together, and I always have a blast in those dreams.
Yeah, I've had that before, man. I've had dreams where I meet people, like characters that keep showing up, and when I see them, I know who they are. It's like I've always known them. They're real familiar, but I don't know who the hell they are when I wake up and I come back to this place. I have no idea who these people are, but I know how familiar they felt. That is kind of weird.
Yeah, that is the best way to articulate it. It's almost like they are composites of people I know, or that the person I meet in the dream is several people I know in reality. if that makes, it's like they're a composite form. And that sort of ties into what Robert Monroe talked about, how, many, one soul might have many, one higher self would have all these different people on earth at one time. So I almost wonder if I'm not meeting the person or this group, that's not the higher selves. I don't know.
I don't know, man. All you can do is just keep journaling to find out that stuff. That's the only thing you can do with dreams is just journal. That way you can remember as much as possible and treat it as a scientific experiment, and then you'll figure it out. And that's what we're doing here. So we're doing that with others. So we're trying to, so I know this sounds crazy, okay, to anybody that's listening that's brand new, but we are trying to meet up in whatever you want to call it, the astral realm, dream world, or whatever, in any type of way. And I think I might have possibly made contact with somebody, but you'll have to email me at contact@lightingthevoid.com to let me know if it was you, and it has to do, the remembering thing has to do with what you were wearing. Another thing I want to do before we get out of here, because we only got like a minute left before we got to go. You guys, please send your love out to Dan right now. Like, he needs your every healing prayer and thought you can send him, every positive vibe that you can send him, every good thing that you have in you that you're willing to send to somebody. I need you to send it to my brother, our brother, the Reverend Dan Lopez, please. If you guys can do that for me. And thanks for coming on, Eric. I hope that
thanks for having me on.
We can have this discussion again tomorrow night. Jason Lindgren's going to be on from Crow 777 Radio and Secrets of Saturn. We're going to talk about the sky clock and the esoteric stuff, the nature of religion, where it came from, and all that good stuff. And I got to tell you that this show is produced by the Fringe FM and cannot be rebroadcast or syndicated without written permission. The music was by Chronox, Kevin MacLeod, Space Station, Guitar Man by Bundy, and Warp Music from the public domain. All of you that are still wide awake like me, if you're heading into the witching hour and you want to get your mind slapped around, stay tuned for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Up next, we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
On this program do not necessarily reflect those of the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, its sponsors, affiliates, or staff. Listener discretion is advised. We told you weeknights on the Fringe FM are now even better, and we mean it.
Do it live!
Where else can you hear the best shows and the best talent? Kick off your evening with our newest host, Alex Exum, live at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Hang out with me, Joe Roop, on Lighting the Void at 9 Pacific, midnight Eastern. Ryan Gable expands your mind on the Secret Teachings at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. We're bringing the heat every single night. Fire it up, the Fringe FM.
Yahoy there. This is Gigi from Shift Happens. And holy shit, you're listening to KTLK, the Fringe FM. Hey, don't you dare